All right, we are live. Welcome. This is a new raw reaction. We'll be talking spoilers, but at first we will not. So with me tonight, I got Lee Cole the fourth. How's it going, Lee?
It is going great. Thank you for having me on. I can't wait to get into this.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Godzilla fan. I got like my mom got me this box set of like five or six like classic Toho with the original, as well as five or six others. I think including Monster Zero, like the 1960 or whatever King Ghidorah movie.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I haven't watched them in a while, but I got that box set, and I like 2014. I love Gareth Edwards, even though he's only done three movies. And I was curious to see how this would go since he actually did not direct this. Um, let's start with your impression of this movie.
Well, I understand why why the critics and you know me, I don't normally side with the critics, especially the shills. I tend to like things that they don't like 90% of the time, but there is that 10% where they do get it right or where they point things out. And I'm sure when we get into the spoilers, we'll get into that. But I will say, I did probably score this myself in the middle of the road. For different reasons, and I'm going to be curious as to see what your reasons are. But as a uh, battle royale of the monsters, I liked it. Other aspects, I didn't really like. So
Huh. Okay, yeah, I probably should have done this before, but I'm looking over the Wikipedia page a bit, just the introductory paragraph or two. It's saying the sequel. This movie was greenlit during the opening weekend of Godzilla, so it's been in development since 2014. So let me see. So how Gareth Edwards left May 2016. Of course, that was the year Rogue One came out. And I don't know. I was already curious with this film, especially after Kong, and they already talked about Kong Skull or a Godzilla versus Kong movie. I don't know if that's supposed to be like the pinnacle of the series. If that's like the end game for this. I hope not. But that
me
that
neither. I
that
don't.
leads to some different questions as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could do. I know that if my memory serves me correctly, they did do a King Kong versus Godzilla. Um, and I don't think that. I liked Kong and Skull Island, and I liked the 2014 Godzilla, but I don't know if you can end it off with a big like end game feel on those two battling. I feel like that would be weird. It's just it wouldn't work for me personally.
Yeah, sorry, I was hydrating. Um, I actually brought a bottle of water and didn't even get a drink. So, uh, but do you dip, Lee? I think you dip, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I'm dipping right now.
Hell yeah! I just finished a dip. My mouth's a little dry, and yeah, I didn't saved a few bucks. I feel proud about that. I'm overweight and try to cut those needless calories. But let me address the chat really quick before we get more into spoiler-free talk. So we got Patriarch of the Sith, great follower. Stephen J. Reviews, Stone Cold Jeremy, George Mason, the Senate, great followers. Adam AF, uh, Lonely Banter. Hey, what's up? I sent you a link, Lonely Banter, if you want to join in. If you saw this, we will be getting the spoilers later on, but we'll keep it spoiler free for another 5-10 minutes. Um, for me, I really love 2014. I know people didn't like the fact that they didn't show a lot of Godzilla till like the very end against the Muto. But I thought it was cool because if you've seen Monsters by Gareth Edwards, you know that he is really good. That movie is also kind of a war style film. When you get to like any action stuff, he's kind of Hitchcockian in the sense of pulling back, not showing you the monster too much.
I
Uh,
you
no, go on.
know I'm sorry, but you made a great point, and I just wanted to play off that. That when it comes to his style of shooting, I do agree. I think that a lost art is that people in general want to see more, but I think the classic monster movies did well, or the ones that were really good were the ones where you didn't see much of the monster. You know, you knew it was there, but that was the part of the terror that built the suspense. So yeah, I like that style that he has.
Yeah, no, I mean, there were certain problems I had with like the family, and it was funny that you had Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, which are a brother sister duo, be a married couple in the film. That was interesting. And some of the plot convenience with him, where it's like, I get that he's like EOD, and it's like, hey, let me find a military unit. But he had things where it's like, how does he get equipment? You know, because this is already a mobilized unit. They don't just carry spare, equipment, especially for an EOD, a very specific job. They don't just have extra equipment. So there's a little crap like that that if you don't, well, if you don't know military, you don't know. But stuff they did cool was like the airdrop and stuff, the special forces and everything. I thought it was really cool development. This one was all over the place. I definitely felt all right. Here's these human scenes, and it definitely there's a lot more to see in this film, spectacle wise, monsters duking it out. But it's like the plot. I'm kind of like, you got way too much human involvement still in this film. The other one was more just like, what if Godzilla is real? How would people be reacting to it and living through it? And so you're following a guy in the military, and his wife's in the city that happens to get attacked. So it wasn't too far fetched, even though it was also convenient that he kept popping up in spots where the monsters were before
Yeah,
San Francisco. Um, this one, it felt like Rogue One in the sense of like you're like ping ponging through this whole movie, and they kind of I don't know. It seems like, yeah, these are giant monsters, so time travel, like literal travel distance, yes, they're going to close it a lot faster, especially with ocean travel or air travel. But it still felt like, even with they got this idea of hollow Earth theory or something where Godzilla goes through little holes, like cut travel time or whatever. I'm just like, I still don't think he could go that fast, especially as bulky as he is, and I don't know. Yeah, with the critic score, I saw it's got like a 42. Last I saw on just the Google search for Rotten Tomatoes. I know it started with like a 54. Grace Randolph, surprisingly, really loved it. As a kaiju film, where all right, you've had this good introduction. Now it's like we know Godzilla. I
Oh,
feel
yeah, I do.
what?
Oh, I thought you were asking as a kaiju fan, do you like the introduction?
Well, I meant for like the first Godzilla movie, and then Skull Island had a different tone and stuff, but it still felt good. Um, sorry, I just saw Kermit the Log jumped in. Uh, I don't know. It was as grand as this vision is and the spectacle. I felt very underwhelmed. Sorry, it's yeah. You can go if you want.
I wanted to make sure, man, because I felt like the timer was off. I've been combating like this aggressively bad headache. I went to see it in 3D, and it's just I sometimes love the 3D, but it's terrible on your eyes. You know what I mean? I never get migraines coming out of the theater unless I see something in 3D.
Yeah, I just saw 2D. I got the Cinemark close to me, so I don't know. It was, I guess, yeah, it was kind of just like it had the problem, sort of like I don't know, The Hobbit 3 or movies like that, where like Avatar they did pretty well with like almost the whole movie being CGI and it not like being too much for your eyes. It's like a really it's a captivating visual, but it wasn't like an overload, if that makes sense. This one, especially with like a lot of like the kind of realistic debris and stuff, is just that's one benefit I would say of the bodysuit and like I don't know if you call it diorama or what, like the film sets they do of like the cities with the Toho creations. Um, you don't have that worry of like stuff clouding the screen. And this one, I think this is another symptom of like Dark Knight and Mythbusters and behind the scenes stuff, where it's like, let's make as realistic looking as possible, even though it's just like these are giant monsters that you awoke with a computer. You know, like I mean, I think they're just focused a little bit too much on making it a believable plot. It's like it's a 400-foot lizard that breathes fire, and it's like we don't need it to be super realistic. As long as the rules in the universe make sense, and I guess it does. And I like how they tie in like ancient, like mythology of creatures and stuff, etc. Um, but I don't know. They just kind of get carried away with it a lot, using that where it's like justifying this history, but then they're like so serious the whole time with it. It's like this should be a little more fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. The pacing of the film, and someone had asked me this at the theater, and this was a first one where like Endgame, I was conflicted about my score, as we all were, who did that panel, right? And John Wick, I was never confused. It stayed solid. Um, actually, what was the other one? And Brightburn was really conflicting with my score as well because I love the film, but there is some objectivity I have to have with a review. This one was the quickest one that I was able to give, and I said, as a monster brawl and what I wanted to see, I'd give it a 7. But as a film, I'd give it a 6.5 because, like you said, the storytelling is very schizophrenic. And the weird part about the movie is that I didn't really feel like there was a point where I was taken out of the movie. You know what I mean? Like I was always in it, especially when the monsters were on screen. And like you said, it was kind of weird how they explained everything to where certain parts I was like, oh, that's cool. They're throwing in ancient mythology. And then there's other parts where I'm like, oh, that kind of doesn't make sense. And then the dialogue too was all over the place. You had solid dialogue with that girl from Stranger Things. I think she's going to be a big star. And
Oh yeah,
the mother there, I for the life of me blank out on that actress's name, and she's in like
Vera Farmiga. I love her in
she was
Bates
great.
Motel, in Source Code. I know she's been in some other stuff that I like, but her and Skylar from Breaking Bad, to get a little Star Wars brothel type talk, they are some of my favorite MILFs on film, but they made her kind of frumpy looking in this, and I was just like, man.
Yeah, they did play down the sex appeal, but I gotta say that the dialogue she had, as far as her and her daughter, was very believable. But then the father was not so believable for me. Had very corny, kind of hammy lines that he threw out there, and it kind of threw off that dynamic for me. I don't know if you felt the same way, but he had a very like action hero, like, oh, go and save them kind of thing going. Um, and it
Yeah, I
bugged me.
mean, well, with him, he's what, like, I guess a wildlife photographer. He knows about sound and stuff that's like key for this whole plot, and his relationship with Vera Farmiga. Um, and so you see this little quick intro where he's like studying wolves or whatever. It kind of reminded me of Rampage with like the Rock's character in the study and all this. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then you kind of see like he is very invested in this to like escape the reality that's like broken his family. And it's like, okay, that's cool. And there's points where it's like I believe him where he's got good lines, he's got good motivation, kind of antagonistically against Godzilla and the Titans. Uh, and I like that arc, I guess. But yeah, it's like it wasn't completely corny, but it's very uneven how they managed him.
Oh yeah, exactly. Uneven. I think the best you hit the nail on the head in general with what this movie was. It was very uneven, and it did have dramatic moments, real moments where I felt like real emotion. almost, tearing up. And I know we're not getting the spoiler part, so I'm not going to say anything, but I think you know what I'm talking about. And then it had moments where I was just kind of like, let's move it along, kind of a thing, you know. And it's strange to me. I mean, it's a strange movie because it's for me it's not bad. I wouldn't put it as bad. I wouldn't put it as unwatchable. I wouldn't even put it as I wouldn't own it because I have the other Godzillas and King Kong and thing like that. It was more of kind of like the direction was weird. It was very weird for me.
Yeah, I the whole time I was watching this, so it's like I think the spectacle could still be here, but I really wish I could see what Gareth Edwards would have done with this sequel. I don't think he would have copied the same style of like hiding the monster because he's already there. He might have started with like the other monsters like Ghidorah, Mothra, and stuff, kind of being vague with their reveal. But I don't know. I think he has a better vision, and I don't know if this guy. Let me look at this guy. I think Daughtry or whatever, Daughtery. Let me see what other works he's done. Um, Definitely, it's like if you've seen Godzilla, you've seen King Kong, you should know there are in credit scenes and
Yeah.
footage for the credits beforehand that have information to keep going forward. So stay the whole time like a Avengers film. Let me see. Let me scroll up and find this guy's filmography. Um,
And while you do that, I'll say a couple of things here. I gotta say that visually, this film is one of those films where you look at a lot of films and you say that the spectacle takes away from the movie because it feels like they threw in all CGI to distract the audience. This one, I think, without the CGI, this movie suffers more as far as enjoyment. I think it's one of those weird films where the CGI and the spectacle and things going all over the place really save the film's watchability.
yeah, I don't know. So I'm looking at this guy's filmography. He doesn't have a lot, and it's kind of all over the place. So he's mainly a writer, it seems. So he starred in '96 with a short film called Season's Greeting as a director writer, writer for X2.
Hmm.
Um, Urban Legends, Bloody Mary. Don't know. It's probably some like Netflix type film. Superman Returns. He's a writer.
Hmm.
He directed and wrote and produced Trick or Treat. I don't know if you've seen that horror film, but I freaking love that. So
Yeah, that was a good one. I saw that.
he also did, I guess, the short film for Trick or Treat. I never saw that, but that's a thing. He was part of the story for X-Men Apocalypse. He directed, wrote, and produced Krampus. I own it, but I haven't seen it. I've heard good things for that type of horror, so I'll have to give it a watch at some point. And then, of course, he directed and wrote Godzilla. I guess he's had some work on Superman Returns and comics as well. And it seems he's a friend of Bryan Singer, so that can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Oh.
But
Uh,
yeah, so any last words before we get into spoilers?
yeah. I'd say that at least for me, I think that people will get enjoyment out of this if you are going, because I know a lot of people I talk to, and even friends of mine at the theater, they had a gripe with the monsters not being featured enough, and this is they like heavily feature the monsters quite a few times and battling and brawling it out. And if you're looking for that, I think that people will enjoy the film. I think they'll enjoy the spectacle. If you're looking for a deep plot and a good story narrative, not here.
Yeah, no, yeah, like I think the last raw reaction it was for Endgame because I saw it like opening like before a lot of people like it was on the show at the end of the like the 2 or 3 day marathon for the theaters. So I saw it before a lot of people. I think even bullshitters and stuff. And that was a hard one not to talk spoilers about. This one is hardest because like the plot's so interwoven, you can't really generalize without like really giving something away. Um, No, I would definitely see for like Godzilla. It's great to see Godzilla with this spectacle, the CGI, but um, there is still at points, despite them showing a lot of them, there's still the problem of like uh, if you didn't like the way they did the first Godzilla with oh look, it's Godzilla's about to, oh crap, where they shut the bus door or something. That, there's things like that with like cutting back to the fucking humans. Where it's like I came here for monsters to kick each other's butts, and all right, we got this plot done, but they had to keep it going and tie it in and try to give you an emotional payoff, and it's like. No, I don't come here for that. Like, they didn't pull it off. I don't think the emotional payoffs they tried to pull. They did with one guy, and we'll get into that. But yeah, this is a hard movie to talk about without spoilers. So I guess starting off, you got Vera Farminger's doctor character who's working with Monarch, and they have Mothra who's about to break out of its cocoon, or I guess the first stage with like the larva form, and that happens, and it's starting to freak out, and it's containment. So then Farina has this like I guess prototype orca thing, and this is like a big MacGuffin for the whole movie, and
Yep.
it's like a thing where they somehow I don't think they ever get into it, but somehow they've figured out bioacoustics to kind of control the monster. How they got that, I don't know how they figured it out. They kind of hint at like some past high school type project that was essentially weaponized. And so you got that, and then you got Tywin Lannister is like this eco terrorist who barges in, kills everybody but her and her daughter. And there's a kind of a cool twist with that. I was hoping he would have more, although I kind of checked that expectation given the movie I'm seeing. And a different director and stuff. Clearly, Warner Brothers is not doing well with DCEU besides Wonder Woman, so I think they're really banking on this monster universe to be something to go for and compete with Avengers to some degree. Um, yeah, let's have you take it from there, Lee.
So, from how I understood it, the device, which they did explain, also had a human element to among the calls of the different monsters. Now, as you said, it's a huge MacGuffin because they explain it without explaining it. They like it's just like you're supposed to go, okay, this thing can control monsters. Um, I gotta say that this is another thing where you said underutilized. I love the dude who plays Tywin Lannister. I think he plays good bad guys. I actually liked and enjoyed his character, but he had such little on screen time. And there was that thing. I don't want to give it away for if you're gonna stay, but it does hint there'll be more with his character. But I don't know about you, but that guy is a really good actor, and I think he carries the role of villain very well. He didn't come across as like mustache twirling, mwahaha. It was very like when you get to his motives and why he's doing what he's doing, I completely brought it. I brought like, yeah, this dude's an eco terrorist. So I like that. I like the thing with Mothra. I don't know. I'm trying to think back from the other films, but I don't know a time where we ever saw Mothra's stages of transformation.
I think we saw larva and then full form moth. It's funny because just kind of going off that little tangent right there with Mothra. I've always hated Mothra with a passion because you have a
Really?
giant fire breathing lizard, and I know this is like Titans or whatever, but you got a giant fire breathing lizard that's the king of the monsters and can take out Mecha Godzilla, can take out, reformed Mecha Ghidorah and stuff. And you got this stupid ass moth that can beat him somehow. And I'm just like, ugh. So how they handled Mothra in this, I was very pleased with. There was something I wanted them to do with Mothra that I've ever since I rewatched like the Mothra '60s movie, one of them, like the main one with them.
Yeah.
Um, I really wanted a Mothra take. This is before the 2014 Godzilla was announced. I really wanted them to take that kind of kooky cult on the island and actually develop it with like little hints of lore and background, kind of like how they did with Kong a little bit.
Did you see the animes? Because they did go into that actually. It
Are
was
the animes attached to this series, or is it just like a Toho spinoff?
No, it's just a Toho spinoff, but they do dive a little bit into they don't get into the other monsters, but they do mention Mothra, and they do actually highlight that cult a lot if you have a chance.
Oh
Uh,
my God! Really quick, uh, Quentin Lars Roger, he said sounds a bit like the plot for Jurassic Park 3. If you're talking about like the sound and like that, what is it?
oh
He had that like whistle thing with like it was like from a bone or something, and it's like some raptor call. I think, yeah, something like that is kind of the whole getting monsters here and there.
which I don't know about you. As far as MacGuffins go, we've come off of these time jumps and things like that. You know, Game of Thrones and Endgame and things like that. And I gotta say, I'm actually happy with that MacGuffin as opposed to a time travel thing. I hear another time travel thing, I'm gonna go nuts. I'm so sick of that. So,
No, yeah, yeah, with the eco terrorism, it reminded me a bit. There's a really good, people can crap on Jesse Eisenberg. He had his, huge claim to fame with Social Network, which is pretty well acted, and then he got Lex Luthor, which a lot of people didn't like. I liked that he was like Lex Luthor Jr., although he was a bit too jokery. But I think that might have been just the influence of Nolan and Snyder not being checked a bit. But overall, I liked it. I liked his kind of philosophical like religion 101 questions about like God and power and Superman. But he's actually before that he's in this very good indie film with Dakota Fanning called Night Moves. I think it's called Night Moves, and it's a very dark eco terrorist story. So definitely look in your library system, check it out, and get back to me because I want to review that at some point because I really love that movie. It's really dark, and you kind of if you get into like any environmental stuff, it's kind of like you get into this ultimate realization that yeah. We really got to like kill a lot of people to restore balance to the earth, and so it's not really far fetched. But that's the problem I have. So Vera Farmiga, her character, I don't know if they explained it as like in San Francisco or what, but they lost their son, and so it kind of broke up their family. And they did try, I guess, to reconcile or something, move forward, but didn't work. So he's off on his own. She's with their daughter, and for some reason, it ends up she is totally down for awakening all these creatures to restore balance to the earth because we're a cancer to the earth. We're not checked, and this was somehow some like plan uh, in her mind for her son, and it's like, how the fuck do you get to that point? Like,
yeah, yeah, and this is where I'm talking about and I think where you're talking about the unevenness of this film is the fact that at some points they throw in really good shit like the eco-terrorist angle, right? And you're buying that, and then her motivations are kind of like half written. It's uneven writing because I can see where she would get to a point with this tragedy of being devastated, but like I don't see even in the movie and the shift that she all of a sudden has back and forth. I don't see where she gets from point A to point B, even in a 2-hour film. It's very jarring and very random. So I'm sitting here going, okay, when she does the swap, you're like, oh, okay, she's evil. And then, we'll get into it. But she does another flip, and I'm going to go, well, okay, I understand your motivations for flipping back, but it's all of a sudden, it's not really built up. They don't show her enraged or hating the world. She comes off as more sympathetic to the way the world is and that she's destroying the world for its own good. And it's weird because if you lose a child, I would think you would be more bitter and angry. But I don't know about you. I didn't get that from her performance. I got more of a sympathetic feel, not like a full on, I hate everyone and I want to destroy the world, but more of a, I feel bad for the state that the world is in. And, if, the world wasn't this way, my kid wouldn't be dead. So I'm just going to obliterate everything. That was the sense that I pulled from that.
Yeah, they end up trying to. So this was the thing I was thinking. It was like, all right, she is directly part of this problem because it's revealed that she's actually working with Tywin, and he's like this former like British Secret Service guy who's accrued this eco-terrorist like organization, or whatever, to like undermine Monarch or whatever and free the Titans. But they had like a stage plan where like, all right, we'll do like onesies and twosies, and they didn't realize releasing Gadira that he's like an actual alien species that is think of like it's an invasive species. I was going to give like a actual scientific example with like fungus or something in lakes, but that's too deep. Yeah, he's an invasive species, so he's like a competing alpha. So that's like the whole gist between him and Godzilla. And so I was surprised somewhere like, what the fuck's Rodan going to be in this? You got Mothra. These are all, depending on past movies, these are all enemies of Godzilla. So he's going to get, like tag teamed by all of them. They handled it kind of well. Despite my hate of Mothra, the way they used her in this film, I was actually underwhelmed. I was like, they could have used her more instead of just like they got rid of her pretty quick. There is a hint that there's like an egg or something, so it's not like Mothra's never going to come back. It's a fucking bug, so it's always laying eggs like this. But yeah, I was actually kind of disappointed because it's like, they made me root for her a little bit. But yeah, like I was thinking with Ferminga's character that, all right, if she lives through this, yeah, she might help rectify the situation, but she's caused, like I'm trying to think of it, like I'm trying to think of a disaster to compare. Like it's worse than Katrina, maybe like the tsunami in what is it, Thailand, like the Pacific back in like '04 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've caused like 17 of these all at once across the world. So, and they're like converging into new cities like Boston, DC, and stuff. So, the whole time I'm thinking, if this bitch lives, then like you have to actually tie this up, and
Oh yeah,
she
because
can't
that's
get
mass
off.
homicide.
She's mass homicide, genocide of the world for this like ideal. They can't let her off, and that was something I was paying attention to. Like if she lives, they gotta tie us up because otherwise it's gonna be stupid as hell. And they took care of her. And so I was actually pleased with that. Although it's like, don't make me like sympathize. Like they didn't give me enough to sympathize with her. Where it's like, yeah, she lost her kid. That's sad, but people don't think of this type of plan for their kid. It's worse than like like in Afghanistan. There's you've seen the movie Lone Survivor. It shows you the Pashtunwali culture over there, and people that work with Americans, they might hate America just like the terrorists, but they have a vendetta to rectify because they lost family members or monetary value or something. So it's like enemy of my enemy. And you can understand how like a terrorist might lose this, or someone might lose a family member, and then they get into terrorism or something because of like the entity that caused the death. But this is like, in a way, unprovoked. You can say humanity at large is guilty of some sins to the earth, whatever, but it's kind of just like it's a cumulative thing that no one person is to blame. Even the businesses that rip up the earth, if you want to get in that, it's like, so yeah, them trying to make me care for her, I was like, fuck you.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. When I say very uneven, because there's no when you write a character, there's got to be either good motives for us to hate them or like them. But her character is very odd in this because It feels like the writers didn't know what to do, whether they wanted to make her sympathetic or whether they wanted to make her completely evil and make us hate her. And then she sits in this weird middle place, at least for me, where I'm like, well, I don't know how the hell to feel because, yeah, she caused genocide, but yeah, her interactions with her daughter are pretty well written. There, you feel the connection there. So it's like, what do you want me to respond to here, guys? I'm confused. Like, do you want me to hate this person? From a moral perspective, I can't like them because they literally just caused genocide in multiple cities. So it's really weird and really like just uneven character writing. And then you have the inverse with her daughter, and getting to your point with when what happens to her. I felt the emotion because of the daughter in that scene. And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little teary-eyed, but I was seeing it from the perspective of the child and not so much from her perspective. Which, I mean, I guess that's a good take, but it's weird. It's just the writing is weird, man.
Yeah, no, it's funny talking about like if there was one scene that would have made me tear up in any regard. Um, Interesting. Oh no, sorry. I saw Mad Max is in the chat. I appreciate the viewership. We've had a sort of internet beef. Not to get off topic too much, we had an internet beef to some degree about my essentially quote unquote Filmgate idea of, hey, let's start this crowdfund, make a couple things with two different creators, Rookie and Josiah, and lead the way. Definitely want to get on a live stream and actually discuss that further because we totally disagree. But I don't think he quite sees that like it's not meant to be like every project going forward is going to be crowdfunded. It's like, no, this is like starting up hopefully something for the Fandom Menace going forward, where eventually we can make profit and not have to crowdfund people, but just still be accountable to our fans. But no, he said I might not like his new video. Definitely intrigued, and it's a 32-minute, I assume, rant because he's Mad Max and he's mad. Definitely go sub to him if you haven't. But I said, oh no, because I was looking at his sub count. He's down to 4264. Last I saw, he was at 4270 or 71. So, but those are fickle fans leaving. I actually subbed a couple months ago. The way I took a video, I took it in the vein of B-level Star Wars. But that's
Yeah.
actually not. He's just a very cautionary commentator. I don't know if he's considered Phantom Menace, but he's definitely on the fringe of our movement, our boycott Disney and whatnot. And I appreciate his take and his caution because we do need doubting Thomases in our rank to make sure we're doing the right thing. So go sub him if you haven't. Check out his stuff. But I will be checking out your video probably tomorrow.
And I just subbed to him myself, so I will check out some of your videos because anyone who has the handle Mad Max, which is one of my favorite films, has to get a sub by me.
Yeah, so getting back really quick to Godzilla, of course. The one emotional payoff I didn't cry about, but I thought it was very poetic, and this is why I was really excited to do a raw reaction, is because you have the Japanese guy from the
I knew
first
you were
film.
gonna say
Okay,
that.
so I'm going to talk about the poeticism of this. All right, so I think the watch he had was from like a family member or like a kid or whatever, like Hiroshima or Nagasaki. That like the watch stopped when the bomb, like the radiation killed the watch, whatever. So he's always kept it as a memory, especially tied to Godzilla, because the nuclear test what has awakened Godzilla in modern day. And so it's something that keeps him focused to some degree. They don't quite clearly, at least for recalling the first time I watched in a while, but I don't recall them really developing a deep context of that watch. But they give you enough to understand like it's a motivator or a moral compass or something. And he ends up because Godzilla fights King Ghidorah, and in the fray outside of Mexico, they actually send like a deoxygenizing bomb to try to kill both of them. And this is after that you learn Ghidorah is an alien species, and Godzilla, it seems, is dead or near death, and they end up finding this, and we'll talk about this specifically later, but they find this like really cool, like I was thinking an Atlantis type city, some forgotten underwater city uh, that worshipped these gods, whatever. And Godzilla's like radiating. He's trying to juice back up, but it might take him hundreds of years to get back on his feet. So he's just sitting there, and the idea is like, all right, we're going to nuke him, but the sub has like kind of it's lost its weapon capabilities, so they have to like try to blow up the warhead by him, and they don't have a way to do that. So he takes charge. Like, yeah, I'll do it. And so he has a moment where he sees Godzilla face to face, touches him, and says goodbye, friend. And did make me cry, but I thought it was very poetic, given the whole context of Godzilla is a sort of artistic outlet for Japan as a whole post nuclear bombings, and it was their like kind of coming to terms some way with the bombing and presenting the horror of it through kaiju. And so for a Japanese guy with this backstory with the watch to uh, revitalize, revamp Godzilla with the nuclear bomb, it was poetic. I think there's something deeper to that that maybe I'll piece out someday. Don't know if I will or not, but yeah, it's really cool. And that was the one emotional payoff that I was like, this is deep. This has got some layers. It's an onion of the movie.
Yes. I gotta tell you, that part actually made me pissed because I love that guy. But it's not pissed like, oh, this is a terrible scene. It was more like, oh, as soon as I heard it, I was like, no, don't. Oh, my favorite guy, because I loved him in the 2014 movie, and I thought he added humor that where it needed to be added. He had probably stellar lines all the way through. Like every time that man talked, he delivered a great line. Like that whole bit with the fortune cookie where he gives the
That was
yeah,
funny.
yeah. He had that humor, but without trying to be funny. He just like delivered the lines, and I felt like they really could have. Maybe they couldn't have done more with him, but I felt like he was a bit of the heart of this new franchise, and I really enjoyed his character in these films. And like you said, it's not a bad shot film. It's a moment. It's a great emotional payoff. It harkens to a lot of things with that watch, and with the gravity of this creature being uh, essentially born from their tragedy, and then he reincites. It's like asking a victim to relive the most horrible time in history for their culture. And he does it willingly, knowing the stakes. And I think that really speaks to his character development. He's been on this long journey. He's been a big proponent of trying to keep the natural order, if you will. And yeah, the scene was very poetic. It was very moving and very agitating because I was like, I'll never hear him scream Godzilla again.
Godzilla.
You said
No,
it so great.
yeah, no, it's funny. Just kind of topic because Roger, he's kind of a curmudgeon. But he's a fun curmudgeon in the Fandom Menace, if you will. And he was making a crack at '98 Godzilla. Now, my Godzilla fandom, right, 'cause it goes back to the '90s. Watching the dumb karate Toho shit before '98 was announced. As a kid, I don't remember when it was announced, but I knew it was coming out, and I was excited. My dad ended up like taking me to Walmart, and we found he let me get like a Hot Wheels car. It was like a double. It was like a front and back dual headed dragon car, but it was like Godzilla enough for me. And so I've been very deep in Godzilla. Actually, my mom got me like Toho toys for my birthday of Godzilla with baby Godzilla and Mothra, and of course, I'd always have Godzilla stomp that bitch moth every time. All about the bad guys or like the tough guys, even with the kaiju. Uh, and I love '98 Godzilla. I love that design. It's actually my favorite Godzilla design, even though it kind of goes in that vein of like too realistic, whatever, trying to really channel the iguana idea.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I don't know. I don't know why I got on that exactly, but I think I was just thinking of Gojira and like looking back, this is like 20, 21 years since that movie, and it's like, wow, the the vision for this movie, despite my flaws with it and everything, it's like this still feels like Godzilla. And looking back, it's like, what the hell were they doing in '98 with Godzilla? Like, I don't know. Just looking back, it's like, wow. So it's a great time to be alive with, them able to take this 60-year franchise and just take a dumb lizard and give you some entertainment,
Oh
to
yeah.
say the
Oh yeah.
least.
Oh yeah. The visuals are spectacular.
I'm trying to think. So okay. So, what were your thoughts on, like, this Atlantean city? I definitely felt it was underdeveloped. I wanted to see more of that. I thought they could have really developed that as a plot point with like new kaiju stuff or something. Because it had okay with tying this in really quick. The Hollow Earth idea. I was like, oh my god, please do not go. And this may be something they try later on. Please do not go into some stupid ass Pacific Rim crossover, because
Oh God.
that's what I was thinking.
No. I do. The first one, okay. The second one was like, okay, this franchise needs to die. And if they try to tie them together, I'm done. I don't want to see Pacific Rim robots fighting Godzilla. That'd just be ridiculous.
Yeah, well, thinking about it, I guess they really couldn't, because it's like, wait, why didn't you just have these robots to punch Ghidorah and then find out, oh, he's an alien, keeps growing his head, so we need Godzilla, actually. But yeah, but then you got the problem of like all these random cool looking monsters, but just random shit just keep popping out of the ocean, and it's like, yeah, like I know people want them to cross over because it's kaiju, but I don't actually see it working.
No,
Thankfully.
plot-wise, it wouldn't. I don't think.
But yeah, what were your thoughts about this Atlantean city?
Oh, so, it kind of piggybacks off your idea, man. I loved it. I'm big into history, and I'm very versed in. I love historical pieces, and studying that kind of stuff. It fascinates me. So when they dropped that, I felt like you did. Like this was a great opportunity to kind of tie in this idea of Godzilla always being around, and that like maybe natural disasters and things that were caused were because of these titans, but due to the modernization and the way everything is now, they would be buried, they would be forgotten like, the rest of things in history. And I was just like, that was one of the scenes, like we said, visually, this movie's amazing. It's stunning when they get into that city and they're showing the ruins and stuff, and it had a very Atlantean feel to it, like a city that was thriving and whatnot. And they don't hint to what happened, but it had something to do with Godzilla, maybe a battle you don't know, and that sunk the city. And I love that aspect, and I think the direction they went with this film, they should have played more off of those mythos and really built a more richer history on it. Where they can expand even more lore into the movies, and then you can tie in that human element to it. The
Yeah,
different cultures.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I really think like the human element idea worked. It's all about your cup of tea, and if you're willing to like take that in with the premise of Godzilla, but that worked to some degree with the first one. This one, it's like, all right, like I said, we're here already. We know this universe. You've done Kong as well, which is in the series. Um, get to it.
Yeah, yeah,
It,
that's a big thing, get to the battle royale, so to speak.
yeah.
Because
So
yeah,
did you stay for the end credit?
I stayed all the way through.
Okay, yeah, because I was actually surprised because I'm watching this. Like, all right, when we're gonna get to stuff, and then it's like, wow, okay, we're actually getting to Ghidorah pretty soon, and they did that little tease of Godzilla and like this fake oil rig military base. I'm like, oh, this is getting cool. And then you see Ghidorah, and they're like, using the thing to talk to it or wake it up and blow it out of the ice, and then you get this fight, and it's pretty cool, you know. I I really love like Ghidorah is one of my favorite creatures from Toho, and I really like the design. I like how they actually used his wings for like walking and stuff, which is something they just I guess didn't have the ability with Toho stuff. I don't know about the newer like 2000s Godzilla stuff. I haven't really watched that besides the Orga one, but I like how like it really evoked Game of Thrones dragons to me in a really good way, where it's like still Ghidorah, you know it's Ghidorah, but it had like a really good quality and awareness, I would say, of like mechanics like Game of Thrones dragons.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think the design for Ghidorah was amazing. They got the ability of what he did when he shot out the stuff, and like how they distinguished him between Godzilla. You know how they had two different kind of streams. You know his was more electric. I liked all of that because it's the attention to the detail. If there were any character developments to be had in this film or arcs for characters, weirdly, I'd have to say it was the monsters. Like Godzilla himself literally goes through an arc. Ghidorah has an arc, and it's weird that the 3D monsters are actually the ones that are having the story arcs when you think about it. You know, because Godzilla comes out, you know, I'm the biggest badass, and Ghidorah's like smacks him down and goes, "Nah, I'm taking the throne," and you feel that tension. Like I don't know about you, but there was times where I was like, "Oh shit, man, Godzilla is really outmatched here. I don't know if he can win." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I you know it kind of makes me think that does give some credence, I guess, to the human whatever, because uh, to take his throne as king or to ensure it's maintained, he actually needs the humans to kind of boost him back up because he goes all out and sort of because of humans with the bomb he gets taken out, and then we kind of boost him back up. With this plot, I really and I hope they address it honestly because you know you have I think I'm trying to think of the Godzilla where it's like I think it's Monster Island where you got like Godzuki and they're throwing rocks and shit and you got all these weird creatures along with like Anguirus and stuff. But yeah, I really liked the Godzilla cartoon as a kid, but given that I've always wanted serious stuff, even as a kid, I just always like, oh, stupid ass Godzuki. You know, it's kind of cool that they have like a beacon, like Godzilla attack. You know, and then it's like Godzuki, or oh no, like our thing is messed up or whatever, and they get these like human jams, and it's like I just want to see Godzilla kick ass the whole time. So with this, I hope they address like in '98 or whatever, like asexual reproduction or whatever, because I want to know if like there's gonna be more Godzillas or something that like his line can continue, especially being a lizard of some sort, essentially a reptile. It's plausible. That's one thing I hate about Game of Thrones. They never addressed if Drogon is like the end of the dragons or if they can asexually reproduce. I would like to know, you know, that way I know whether or not that's the end of the line for them.
They actually address that if you read the history of the Targaryens and how the dragons died out. There was an influx. I assume it was male and female, and there was an influx of males. So
Oh,
that's why the dragons died out. Yeah. It came with my Game of Thrones. It was like an anime kind of thing, and it was called The History of the Targaryens. And yeah, that's uh, kind of what happened or why the lines got weaker. The breeding got weak. So it
hey,
comes down to breeding.
really quick, just saying hi to more people in chat. I got Ancient One in here now, and Carl Manvers says, "Is Kong a step down from Ghidorah?" Um,
Ooh, that's a good one.
yeah. So yeah, this is the thing I was thinking about is the huge match they're leading up to. So far, it seems it's just going to be a trilogy of Godzilla movies, which it's Godzilla, so you don't have to worry about actors or anything. It's just a CGI monster. So I don't know why they're limiting themselves or whatever. Because besides Kong being introduced kind of on a tangent, it's just a Godzilla series. He's kind of the key to it all, and it's making me wonder. It's like, all right, you have King Ghidorah, this three-headed alien dragon who's been awoken. He's like a competing alpha trying to take over, and he has power of like weather and stuff to like annihilate everything. And Godzilla competing, and then you got a monkey, which I love apes, but you just all he is, and this kind of goes to my Mothra idea. It's like all he is ultimately is just a really big gorilla, and so, but I think he's like a quarter of the size of Godzilla. I'm not sure how he'll match up size wise, if they'll make him equal, but I assume he's like four times. Like I assume Godzilla's like four times his size. Um, Plus his armor and his atomic breath, his nuclear ability. It's like, what
Oh
the fuck is
yeah.
a monkey gonna do to this thing? Like
To be fair to King Kong, I'll kind of play devil's advocate because I always did like certain aspects of King Kong. They do allude to his deductive reasoning, and he's sort of a, a melee fighter. He's able to think on his feet. Like remember in Kong Skull Island, he was using environmental stuff, so he's able to pick up stuff and process it as if kind of like a human would. So I think that's kind of where they're thinking that the edge would come in because
the balance.
the balance is that intellectually, okay, Godzilla has one shtick, right? The whole fire breath, and that atomic thing's a big. That's a big thing, but he has to be at a certain point nuclear wise to be able to do that. So if we're talking about they're just fighting regularly, Kong is able to use deductive reasoning and things like that, almost on the level of human intellect. So, um, I would think they would go with the route of trying to outsmart Godzilla rather than straight up brawling him.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think story-wise where they're going to go because they've already addressed that Kong is the last of his kind, and see, this is what I'm talking about with like Kong. Even though they give you detail, it's still stupid. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory, like these movies are stupid. Like you not like them, you think like they're just ultimately just kid shit made for adults now, with our like craving for any spectacle, whatever. I love primatology. I love learning about apes and stuff and genetics and human evolution, all that tied together. So being aware of that, I'm watching Skull Island, and even though they say like he's the last of his kind, you see this graveyard and stuff. Given that you got him plus all these other giant species on an island, and it's not a very big island, uh, there's no way this would work ecologically. Not just with size and gravity on a giant heart, but also uh, just the ecosystem. Like your ecosystem kind of dictates your size. That's why you got like dog-sized deer developed, and stuff in some places. Uh, and so when you're just aware of that, you can't unknow it for a movie. So it's like, this is fun, but I know science, so this is kind of dumb. With Godzilla, it makes sense because he lives in the ocean. So it's like, yeah, you can get away with it. And even, what's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson has talked about the plausibility of a creature like him in the water. Um, so, like, I, I'm cool with it, and I can see. I'm thinking, like, it's Godzilla, so are you going to kill him with like the strategy I would think with humans is like, yeah, the balance idea, the Japanese doctor, whatever, the leader, his ideology being an imprint on monarch, but thinking somewhat practically because they've introduced military, and the one of the questions is like, is the military going to get power over monarch? And of course they just want to put them all down because they're a threat, which makes sense. And so it's like, I'm really thinking the military is going to side with King Kong because he's weaker, I would say, than Godzilla, unless they pull more stuff out for him. But he's weaker than Godzilla. You don't know the birthing or whatever of Godzilla so far, so it'd be smart to take him out and then leave Kong to at least just be the last of his kind and die at some point. That's how I'm thinking rationally for this storyline. What are you thinking going forward?
I would agree. I think that because in the Skull Island, which I remember very well because I thoroughly enjoyed it, I think they sided with Kong towards the end, except for Samuel L. Jackson, but Michael Fassbender did. And I'm thinking you're going to have a situation where the government will choose between the lesser of two evils, like a creature who essentially just wants to live on that island, right? He doesn't want anything to do with humanity. He just wants to do his monkey things. So, you know what I mean? He's not trying to be a king of the monsters or wreak havoc. He's just trying to live. So I think that the government will look at that and see that this creature has been on a secluded island, maybe do a deal where they bring him towards Godzilla or bring Godzilla to the island and try to balance the scales that way so that he's more on its home turf. But to be honest with you, I don't think the next movie comes out in 2020, but I don't think it's really going to be King Kong versus Godzilla because remember, they kind of set it up with that particular scene where
Oh yeah, yeah. That was gonna be the next point. So, the very end credit scene is Tywin because he leaves Boston. Like they never show what happens to him after Ferminga leaves. He ends up like somewhere. Someone has like the head or remaining body, which I assumed watching it that like Godzilla like completely nuked Ghidorah, like vaporized him. So I didn't think anything was left besides that head that he like destroyed. So for there to be another head or body, maybe the head's from Mexico.
yeah, because remember he did lose a head somewhere before Godzilla
Yeah,
did his whole
so
thing.
I guess it could be from that, but um, and I guess if you charge him up, like he could theoretically like regenerate his other part of his body instead of the head because it's like a Hydra principle. Um, which that was cool because I don't remember if that was ever in the movies, like the previous like Toho stuff. Um, so that was like cool because he like lost a head. I'm like, oh shit, he's like one head down. How's this gonna be a problem for Ghidorah? And then it's like, oh shit, it's like Hercules. The head's coming back. I'm like, oh, that's cool because I just didn't see that coming. Actually, I thought that was cool and menacing, but yeah, I guess the idea is they're going to regenerate Ghidorah or so. So I'm expecting Mecha Ghidorah with
Oh,
the,
I was just gonna go that route. You read my mind. That's what exactly the route I was thinking. And then it's gonna be a situation where, if I'm calling the plot, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a situation where that guy's gonna make Mecha Ghidorah. Maybe Kong and Godzilla have a skirmish, and then he comes, and it's like a team up rather than a versus. But they're building it up for a versus to kind of like trick the audience.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. No, I can totally see that. Where it's like the whole alpha idea again. It's like, well, they've like remade this alpha and souped him up with more weapons, and then that makes me think like, are they gonna do Mecha Godzilla, or are they gonna bring like because you can just keep the series going as long as it's making money.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
And so, like, because I'm reading, like, they have like a trilogy idea plan. So Kong, for what I know, reading briefly, is the end of the Godzilla series. So it's like they're just going to like take care of his trilogy. Then it's just going to keep building its MonsterVerse. Maybe put him in the back pocket. I don't know. Like, I really want to see Kong. Of course, I want to see how this battle plays out. The size difference, if they are going to make it that way. But I really want them to get the rights to Gigan. That's probably Ghidorah is cool. I love dragons, but Gigan is such a cool, different design that I've never quite seen, and I'd like to see them adapt that for this more realistic, more you know, well, uh, well designed. I'm trying to think how to say it because he's got like I don't know if it's his eye or if he's like actually robotic or alien. I don't know Gigan's backstory, but he's got like that robotic like uh, eye or whatever, the eye
Yeah.
slit. And yeah, I've always loved it. I remember I always had fun drawing Godzilla and Gigan, and I draw like his frills on his like saw chest, and like you get to like his crotch, and it's like, oh, this is kind of like his dick area, you know. So, so that was always just funny to me in my head. But no, I really want to see Gigan come to life in this, and I don't know if it was or not, but when they showed all these Titans coming up, they had one of them come. I thought it might have been Anguirus, the armadillo one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They alluded. They didn't even like really play off half of the things that they tell you came out, I felt like they back pocketed a lot of stuff. And I give the movie one thing. To me, that's smart because they're leaving a lot of things open that they can toy around with, even if they're going to end Godzilla's arc. There's so many different exciting ways that they can take this franchise and kind of build on it. And then, like you said, keep the Godzilla thing in the back pocket, depending on how they handle it in Godzilla versus Kong, because that's already been announced. So it's definitely a done deal. It's happening. It's already in the works. So the other thing is, are they going to bring Michael Fassbender back? And
You talking about Loki?
yeah, or I always in that movie he looked a lot like Michael Fassbender. I don't know why. I thought it was him, but yeah, Hiddleston. There we go. You gotta wonder because they established a cast there. Are they gonna blend the two casts? I'd like to see that, and I'd like to see their interactions with this new eco terrorist. I think that would, like we were talking about, add a layer of richness to the story because now you have, because King Kong was essentially, even though it's part of the verse, it was its own movie. So it'd be kind of cool to see how each of the survivors play off of each other, because you still got the dude, you got the girl from Stranger Things, and then you got the guy, or you have Hiddleston in Kong, and you have what's his face from Riley, C. Riley, because he stayed on the island. So you still have him there too. So
See, yeah, I would like to see Riley's character again, because he's back in America, ain't he? Because he's got, like his kid or whatever, or his wife or what. I can't remember what family member or family members, but I know he comes back and it's like awkward but funny. Yeah, I love Riley was such an odd casting and it worked because King Kong. It was like, hey, let's just have fun with this, and it had enough moments of like Samuel Jackson Goodman and there being at odds and Monarch. It was an odd film that worked tonally.
yeah, and I think if you that's going to be the thing too. They're going to have to play a very good balancing act between the two tones because Godzilla is more darker and Kong was more light and kind of a weird humor. So it had its dark moments, but for the most part, it was a pretty light film. So it's going to be interesting to see how they blend both of these two franchises together. I gotta say, this movie did get me excited for what was to come, if anything else too. Like I did leave going, wow, I like to see where they go with the story.
Yeah, no, there's yeah. Despite my problems with this, like it was overall enjoyable enough. I probably won't see it again just because it was too much. Like, despite there's been like a lot of character stuff going on, it was like there's no character to really grasp on, and yeah, it's a one-time thing for me where I'm like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I might get it when it comes out, but I'm not gonna like rush to get it. I haven't even got Spider-Man Spider-Verse in my collection yet, so
Oh, you
I
gotta
got
get
things that
that,
take
man.
precedent. I got things that take precedent.
Rookie.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not much, dude. I just talking Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. I assume because your whole theater problem, you're going to be behind on a lot of theater movies
Oh, yeah.
for the time being. But you're generally pretty good at navigating plots without seeing film and adding commentary. So it's totally fine with you coming in.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I actually haven't seen that much coverage for Godzilla, so I don't know what I can offer other than it doesn't look like something I want to see. I don't know. Look,
No, yeah, that's fine because me and Lee were both like I think he liked it more, gave it a better score, enjoyable wise. Me, I'm like, I kind of agree with the critics, and enjoyability wise. There's things like that's fucking cool, and then it's like we're back to these stupid fucks. One thing I'll say with marketing, they really like. I know she's part of the plot, but they really should have, of course, given him more of a character, and maybe they're developing for the future with Mecha King Ghidorah, but they really should have went forward with Tywin, because Game of Thrones, even though his character's dead, he's still part of that. And this is like, everyone knows the show right now, and they've been rewatching it. They're going to have Tywin fresh in their heads. And I think HBO is owned, at least in some degree, by Warner Brothers, and this is a Warner Brothers film. So it's like, they really missed the mark. I know Millie Bobby Brown has Stranger Things to boost her, but you've had a long time since season 2. So I just think it would have been a smarter move to market, at least even false marketing. They should have marketed with Tywin.
Right.
Yeah, I agree too. The marketing, like he was a complete surprise. When he appeared, I go, "That's Tywin Lannister." I said I had no indication he was in this movie.
Yeah, really, really quick though, just because I keep getting this update every once in a while of like restarting for updating my computer. If we end up cutting out sporadically, it's because of that. I keep clicking on it to try to like change the time, whatever. Because I don't know if it's like set for like a few minutes from now or an hour from now. But yeah, if that happens, people in the audience, you wonder why it's cut off unexpectedly. It's because of that. If that happens.
Okie dokie.
I'm trying to think, Ricky, what's something just outside looking in that you might want to know about this film or going forward?
Are the fight scenes shot well? Like, sometimes they're shaky cam or very quick cuts. Does it look visually appealing or anything?
Yeah, I like I said, I really enjoyed the look. There's times where it's too hazy, where I'm like, all right, I'm in Antarctica, so okay, but then it's like we're in Boston and it's raining and it got like debris everywhere falling. It gets a little too hazy, or like it's like they're afraid to actually just like give you clear shots or something. Like that kind of distracts me a little bit. But overall, the fights are cool. But it's really just the problem with the fights is it's getting good. Like, oh shit, Godzilla's ramping up, or Mothra saves Godzilla's ass for a minute. Rodan pops out of somewhere, and then it's like, we're back to the fucking humans. So that was my problem with the fights. Better than the first one as far as like that part of the sell of Godzilla the spectacle.
I hear the bad guys are pretty cool. They don't like humans and release the monsters because derp.
Yeah, like Tywin's character makes sense because he's like just a tried and true eco-terrorist. He's like, we're going to restore balance. We're going to give it back to the Titans. Fine, simple, makes sense for like an ideal. But the person he teams up with, the scientist that's working on Mothra at the time when you meet her, her whole thing is some sort of like huge meta thing to like make up for like she's gotten this stance like the eco-terrorist because her son died, and it's like, how is this rectifying his memory? Like it just didn't make sense because I guess you had this coexistence idea, and they do hint it in the end credits, like before you get to the post-credit scene, where it's like they're showing you all these clips of like news and studies and like Facebook or Twitter or what have you, where it's like, oh, radiation's helping like 14 different endangered species come off the list and blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's kind of like what the Japanese guy thought, where it's like you need these titans for balance.
Okay.
What about you, Lee?
Huh.
Yeah, that was pretty much the gist for me. And like Angus said, there were a few characters where you could say they have development, and then some where it's just kind of all over the place. And to be honest with you, the reason why I enjoyed it was I didn't go in necessarily expecting any real deep plot. It's Godzilla movie. I had expectations of someone saying Godzilla, which happened.
Godzilla.
I had expectations of big ass monsters fighting and destroying shit, which happened. And maybe a little bit of myth, which happened. So all my check boxes, for me at least, got checked.
Yeah, I was expecting like, or there was a scene. I know there was a scene where it came in my head. Austin Powers like, look, it's Godzilla. Like, actually, due to copyright law, it's not. It's like, still, we should run like it is Godzilla. And I was thinking of that from Goldmember, but uh, yeah, I remember like I was definitely. And maybe you can clear this up because you like the DCEU to some degree, Lee. Maybe you know some more detail. I saw somewhere, I don't know who it was, they're saying like, this will tie in because Zack Snyder, I guess he was asked about Justice League about the Russian family, and he's like, "What Russian family?" And so I guess
Yeah.
that was like a Joss Whedon thing, perhaps that he didn't even know about till afterwards, which
Yeah.
would kind of make sense because it's like, okay, I could see you like showing a family and maybe like a community dealing with like this invasion in a little town, but it didn't make sense. They kept focusing on that one family. And I expected them to pull some shit like that with when they were in Mexico, and he had like the mom and her kid, and the kid falls, and it's like, oh god, don't get my kid trampled. And I was like, please don't make me care about some nobody family because they got a kid. And luckily they don't. It was just a little character development for one of the army guys. And that's the other thing too, okay? Because in the Phantom Menace, we're very hyper aware of SJW-ness in escapist entertainment, and
Yep.
watching this, because he ended up having like the military leader of this monarch organization, like at least the tactical stuff, is a black woman, and she's not just a black woman; she's bald. She shaves her head, and so it's just those are signs of like, oh no. And then you got like a woman pilot, and even when Taiwan invades the facility with his troop, there's a chick in the background to his left. I'm like, oh no, but they managed it really well. They didn't push any of that, and I was very thankful. I thought maybe there would be some wokeness with this film. Maybe there's stuff that like Doomcock could pick out or something, but just watching the film, kind of always being aware, but mainly just taking in the movie. Didn't feel any SJW-ness with this. I just really felt like they really overplayed Millie Bobby Brown in this movie as a selling point. She's really just another MacGuffin to get Doctor, who's estranged from his family, to try to get them back. And then it's like, oh, I gotta see my daughter, even though my ex-wife is a crazy bitch. And then it's like, we gotta go to Boston because she took the MacGuffin. And it's like, oh, where did she go? Home. And it's like, yeah, plot points were fine. It was just, I don't know. It's just, show me more fucking monsters.
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty all over the place. And I did one scene in particular because I felt the same way seeing this. But then when dude comes in and shuts her down and walks out, I go, perfect. It was a beautiful scene because when she went in there on her little tirade, we got to do this, this, and this, and then dude just was like, "Shut up! I'm here for my family. I don't give a crap about what's going on with your organization," and slams the door and leaves. And I was like, "Perfect."
It's funny. So Logan, and you see this in like, I don't know if it was like CinemaSins, but channels like that, they'll point out like Logan, where it's like, this chick has like great film quality with her little phone, and it's like, how has no one like taken her phone away? Filming all these kids in the facility, and there's a scene like that in this movie where it's like Preminger like calls up Monarch from a Monarch base that they've infiltrated to release Rodan, and she's like blah blah blah, and then she has like this like video montage with like CGI graphics and stuff showing like the Earth decay if we don't check ourselves with the Titans. And it's like what? Like how is she choosing to like intercut this? And I'm like, what? Like people are just gonna eat it up or not think about it. But I was sitting there like, what are you doing? Like. Did you notice that?
Yeah, that was another thing. But I think a lot of that harkened back to the whole, the writing was weird. That's the best way I could put it. For me, it was weird. It was uneven at spots. It was like really good for some things, and then really just like, yeah, let's just glaze over this kind of thing. So, that's kind of where I sit with the storytelling.
Yeah, and adding with the whole like family thing, I really thought they're gonna like derail the plot because like they release Rodan and then like the whole thing is like, hey, let's get him to follow us into the storm that Gadira is in charge of. He's forming, and we'll have them take care of each other. This is before like Godzilla's there, and so like they're like heading straight for him, and like Rodan ends up taking out the whole squadron of planes with them behind like their mothership, and then like one of the army guys, he's in like a decrepit ship that's trying to land in the hangar of the mothership, and they're like, we can't get it open and this and that, and it's like, hey, we gotta get us on, we got kids on board. I'm like, who the fuck cares? Like, there's a whole city just got annihilated,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why am I going to care about some nobodies? And they end up making it, like he like breaks open the thing to get them in, but they never really derail the plot. And it was just kind of, that was like a false tension builder. I'm like, what? Like, you already had the tension builder. Like, oh god, Rodan's gonna eat us. Oh no, Ghidorah's gonna eat us. Oh fuck, Godzilla saved us. Thank God. Like there was enough tension there for like why you're here for the movie. I don't know why they didn't derail like Justice League, but it had little hints. So it was like it's gonna go that way, or it's like, why is this even in here? Uh, and then you have like the corny, just like Vera Farmiga, her character like bites the dust, of course, because she's got the MacGuffin that's keying in Ghidorah, so he's chasing her. She's in a jeep. He ends up like blowing her out of the road, and she like is about to get nuked by him, and she's like, "Hell, the king of the monsters!" And it's like all the sound just like cuts out. You don't hear any destruction or fire or anything. You just hear her, and it's like, that's I hate when they do that. They
I
just
don't
cut out all
know.
the
This
sound.
scene was where I got emotional, not from her per se, but that girl from Stranger Things is a hell of a actress. Um, her and her emotions were what caught me because I felt throughout the whole movie her bond with both of them, and that was what kind of got me like, okay, I'm feeling this scene because of the slow mo cut to the helicopter and like she did a hell of a job. That's
What I was thinking too. Okay, so when they're in Antarctica, where they're getting Gadira out of the ice, um, they one of like the lead people in this monarch group that was before the Senate, before like the plot starts taking off with Gadira. Um, she's the deaf girl from Shape of Water. She's from an Oscar-winning film, and she just gets crushed by Gadira's tail. I'm like, wow, that was kind of ballsy to do that, but it was just like so unclimactic. They just fucking smashed her. And it's like, I don't know how to feel about this. Because also, not even with Shape of Water, just think like she's got this sex appeal to her. She's a cutie. I like her.
yeah, a lot of some of them did have a lot of missed opportunity there. So I think this is a weird film. I think people wise, there's going to be a lot of people who like the film, and maybe a lot of people who don't. It's gonna. I actually am waiting for the people's score. I haven't gotten a chance because I haven't worked yet. I was actually off to gauge the reaction from people coming out, but I'm gonna be interested in seeing what the hype level is for this because it's not really running against anything really big.
Well, it's
So
running against Aladdin. It's Disney, and Disney, or we don't know if it's Disney, but I don't know if you saw Dash Star, 300,000 sub. He's had like 15,000 or more just in like the last week or two out of nowhere. Huge surge. He just got his channel demonetized, and after someone watched the Geeks and Gamers video about this, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that actually popped up on my thing. I gotta check that video out. I've been meaning. Actually, I'm supposed to
Yeah,
be doing
I was
a
gonna say,
stream right
get on
after
out of
this
here.
about that.
Do your stream with PB.
Yeah, PB was yelling at me in the chat. But yeah, that whole situation is crappy, and at this point, I want anything that'll beat Disney. I've said it in my streams. I'm tired of Disney in general, just with what they did as a Marvel fan to me for Marvel movies, and then these reboots and retrends. I'm just sick of Disney as a company in general. I'm tired of all of their things that they're promoting. I don't care about any of them. I want other films to win it out. So I'm really pulling for Big G.
Awesome. So yeah, go on, start your stream. Good luck with that. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for having this chat with me. Me and Rookie will continue. Might get him to ask a few more questions like he did, and we'll just kind of shoot the breeze now. But yeah,
All
thanks again.
right, thank you, man, for having me.
No problem, dude. Especially working at a theater and getting a lot of opening day. Opening day release watches. You're a valuable resource to play off of with these spoiler streams.
Oh yes, thank you. I really appreciate it. And yeah, maybe we'll do another video together, and I could tell you the reactions from people.
Yeah, well, we definitely. I gotta hit Odin back up, find out a time, but maybe this weekend at work I can set up a Brightburn stream because you, me, Lethal, Odin, we all liked it. So I want to see what division we have about it.
That would be a fun one.
All right, dude. Take care, everyone. At least pull up his channel and sub, and when this is done, go over there and check in on his live stream because you don't know how long Lee will go, which is
yeah.
I'll be up at like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I'll see like your stream. Like Jesus, like how long has it been going? Yeah, get on out there. Actually, I'm gonna kick you just so I make sure you go and do your stream with PB.
All right, I'll see you later. Bye.
All right. Now, finally, we can have a good stream. No, I'm joking. So, Ricky, what's going on? You sent me some introductory script work for, you don't have to do any spoilers, but I read over a little bit while I was on the crapper after the movie. I'm like, all right, I like that I like some of the dialogue you're giving me. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I was really trying to think of how each of you would respond in conversation. So, if for reference for people in the chat, I am launching my new skit trilogy. If anybody knows my other skits and my last skit trilogy, The Rookie's Test, you know that I go hardcore balls deep, and this time I'm going 5 times, 10 times balls deep. Now, with all the skill that I have now, back then I had like 200 subs. Now I've got 800, and I know so many more people, so much more skill. And it's going ham. This will be a true test of my abilities. And thanks to Angus, there's even a GoFundMe. So if you want to tell them about that.
Yeah, so I've had this idea since maybe it was like inkling in the back of my head, but since Star Wars Theory had his channel, the Vader fan film, manually copyright claimed by Warner Chappell, who owns, I guess, the majority of rights for Star Wars music. They manually claimed his video 3 weeks after it already had like its initial hit and claim to fame. Is already kind of petered out for really making money. I don't know if they make money after the fact on his previous use. I don't know, but he couldn't monetize it because it's a Lucasfilm deal that he did, and so it was a big thing. And they pretty much tried to shut him down if he fought it. So he utilized telling people on YouTube, and the Fandom Menace, of course, helped. Uh, utilized that aspect to get the fans outraged at him. And I said back then, this is Hollywood collusion against fans, regardless of Warner Brothers and DC or Disney competing, especially with Avengers DCU. They have more in common against fans than they have at odds with each other. And because of that, I essentially hinted at a Filmgate idea. And so I've been saying this for months, and I finally got the idea. I'm like, you know what? Like, no one's like putting a foot forward. You got Comicsgate, which is in its infancy, but it's doing well. It's getting more and more legitimate with more and more creators. We need this in the Fandom Menace. We need more than just supporting our channels we like with super chats or viewership for monetization. If channels in general don't want to pull some money together and make a entertainment entity, which could be a thing in the background, we don't know, but we're not hearing any hints of it from any big channels. And so this is like me putting my foot forward to try to awaken this part of fandom, the film side, the Star Wars side, where it's like, let's start making our own products. We're not going to beat Disney or anything. It'll take years to ever build something any caliber to even start trying to say something like that. But if we don't start working at it, every second we're not, the opportunity is slipping by. So there's a GoFundMe. The initial GoFundMe, the goal is $5,000. It's going to be split evenly between Josiah and Rookie. I got both of them because Josiah has a background in actually making a feature-length film, which is on Amazon, called Taker's Crown. If you like Lord of the Rings and fun fantasy like that, go check it out. And Rookie has built his channel from the ground up and made huge collaborative comedic works. So I'm giving you two different flavors to look forward to. One that can create somewhat faster and have a big fandom overlap, and one that's like, with Josiah wants to make like a really structured, probably long-term development type film product. So giving you two avenues of approach for entertainment to start off this movement. So if you're interested, go check out previous video where I addressed that fund. So look forward to that. And it's not that Rookie isn't going to make stuff without this money, but this money can give him more opportunities and broaden his scope creating wise, because he does it all on his own. So
it's a big help because everything that I pay for, like in my camcorder that I use currently, is the best that I can afford at the moment. It was like just over $100, and it has the stupid timestamp thing in the corner. And if I want a good camera, it'd be like over $200 at least. And so I'm trying to work on that. For tomatoes that I'll need for my stop motion skits, if those add up for a while, definitely. And transportation. Like I can manage some transportation on my own, but since I don't have a car, it's nice to have that slight extra fund. If there's any extra fund, that just makes the project better automatically because I do what I can with what I have. And if I have more means to do more stuff, then I'll be able to make it better.
yeah, and to clarify, I'm not making any money from this. I'm managing it. I'm the producer. If this does well, regardless if we get the funding or not, hopefully this can be like an introductory type of like resume starter for me being at least a money like executive producer, to maybe start getting a cut in the future with other people. Like, hey, you've started this, help me build a fund. Maybe I'll take like a small cut or whatever. But there's nothing coming out of this unless I still want to talk to Josiah just to clarify, be sure. But unless we hit 5,000 or more, I'm not going to take any cut. If we get to that point, then I might do like a 2.5 or 5%, just for the work I've put into it. But it's mainly them, so I want all the money to go to them for at least the initial funding goal. So if that's in your head, nipping that right in the butt. I'm the guy, of course, pushing this fund. I'm the quote unquote producer for this, but also I'm the receipt manager. So I want to be on Rookie and Josiah's ass with making sure they verify. Even though I trust them, I'll verify for the fans and stuff, and for the detractors. Hey, we got the receipts. They spent X on this. They spent $20 on tomatoes. Josiah got this, or he gave this money to an animator or a graphic artist, whatever it is they're doing, I'm going to be showing. And with Josiah, because he told me Taker's Crown costs about 15 grand to make, and took like a year of editing. So with Josiah, this may only partially fund what he might want to do, but it's still going to go to something. And I know he's saving what money he can, and he has shown on Twitter that he's looking for animators to possibly animate some of his creations. So, yeah, it's not a frivolous fund we're asking for, and every bit you can donate helps.
Yep, definitely. Yep.
Hey, what's up, Steven?
Hey guys, what's going on? I am so excited about this project, dude. I want to push the hell out of it. I want to advertise it every single chance I can. I love this idea and I want to see it succeed.
Yeah, it's kind of hand in hand. Like you are, even though you're an author with the Fandom Menace, you're working on this volume 1. You definitely have the comic skate in your blood. And so you being attached with us to some degree, as a creator on YouTube and an author, definitely feels like it'll help unite Comicsgate and Fandom Menace together for this project.
Well, I definitely love the idea behind Comicsgate, and a lot of the values of it has stirred me up and gave me a lot of feelings. I'm not exactly a comics creator, but I want to continue that tradition in a literary sense, and the direction that Rookie and Josiah want to take. I'm really excited about it. I want to see this happen.
Thanks, man. Well, it's coming soon, and I'll be giving updates every time I can.
Great.
Like, I'm just starting today with trying to message people, and that alone is going to be an asinine type of thing, because I know so many people now. When I did my first trilogy, I got 49 people to do it, and that was kind of stretching to find that many people, and now it's at 200 subs, and now I know so many people. It's more like, okay, how can I use everybody in a way, give them lines that will be cohesive in a story,
Right.
like all from different locations, all from everywhere.
Yeah, Rookie or Steven, either one of you, that video, I have it pulled up. I'm going to watch it afterwards. But the video from Geeks and Gamers about channels demonetized. I don't know if he's just talking about Dash Star or
I think he's talking about specifically with that Brie Larson video, with the extra scene that people commented on or played on their channel. I think those ones are getting demonetized.
Yeah, so I don't recall. Did Jeremy actually play that clip and then comment on it? Because that could fit under the copyright.
No, there was actually there's instances where just the title was getting demonetized as well. People didn't even use the footage.
Wow. So
there was somebody that was defending Brie Larson, actually, who also had his channel not taken down, but demonetized.
Wow.
Demonetized from just the title.
So it's
saying it was like Brie Larson is a villain ? And then he defends her. That was the thing, but that got taken down too. So
wow.
Oh, wow. This is crazy. It's crazy talk. Yeah, this just goes hand in hand. Like I was telling Steven, kind of catching up on my content and stuff, and the background. Like I was telling people with Star Wars Theory, kind of keying in on this Filmgate idea. So the other part, just to clarify to people, the other part of Filmgate was knowing the loopholes that he jumped through, because I knew Jeremy was pushing it initially, like a year or two ago, with the fund campaign to try to get $1 million crowdfunded to make the Vader fan film, and then it kind of went away. No one talked about it, and then I learned later that he had to jump through all these hoops. He couldn't crowdfund, so he had to be like, hint, hint, buy my shit. That's not crowdfunding for this, technically. Although that's what it was going for. But yeah, he spent all his own money, couldn't make anything back on it. And it's like when you see that work of love, when you see the Scene 38 reimagined, and it's like, just think if that quality was put in by people who could make a profit on it, or at least have the chance for profit. Just think if Ethan Van Sciver, which clearly it's in his head, he's aware, working at DC, Green Lantern, all that. He's aware that if he builds his product up enough, he could get at least an indie project for his films. Just think if that could be Star Wars Theory or Scene 38 Fix It in Post guys, or someone with that caliber, where they're only answering to EVS and or investors, and creating and managing and making money back off of this creation. They've already built their resume already with these Star Wars products that are pre-owned IPs.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at what Star Wars Theory did. I mean, there was a lot of work that went into that, but it was all passion. You could tell from start to finish that there was just everybody involved in that project had a love for it, and that's what you get. Even when you have a low budget, that's what you get when you have people passionate about what they're doing.
That's what the sequel trilogy lacked, was any of that passion. It just felt like, oh, here we are. And with this little 16 minutes from him, it was like full passion, full trying, full skills, full dedication.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to go on a tangent. All I'm going to say is when Kathleen Kennedy was put in charge of Lucasfilm, she had an agenda, and that was to push her feminist ideology. She sees everything through sexist eyes. So to her, the traditional fan base of Star Wars was nothing but a bunch of overweight, misogynists. And that's just where she went. She hired people. She hired that uncreative group. Oh, this group. You can find the list of those people. I think I found it on Disney Star Wars is dumb. I think I got it from Ichibaka, but I put the whole list. I put them all on blast. Like these are the idiots that were put in place to destroy for Star Wars. But you know, they don't have any passion. They don't. The first thing they did was throw out the EU. They didn't adapt it. They didn't bring any of it in. There's so many good stories and so much good lore that's in there. Like you don't have to do it verbatim. You don't have to do it story by story. I get having to scratch and start from the beginning, but for God's sakes, use some of it. So many people put their hearts and love into that shit, and just tossed away, wiped their ass with it. Nah, we're gonna do this. They gave us Rey, daughter of space hobos.
Okay, so this is something I didn't offer because I don't know if you heard in that stream with Drunk and Rookie came on. We were talking. It was kind of me responding off the cuff to everything Star Wars, not derogatory, but he just asked on Twitter like, "Well, what would you actually do?" Because I'm pretty negative with sequel trilogy and just Disney products with Star Wars, and I pretty much said I would kill Star Wars. I would just end it. It's not done with Lucas. It's his thing. We were. I think most of us were all hopeful, even if we're hesitant with Disney. We're all hopeful. Like, yeah, Star Wars is back, awesome. And most of us, I think, were pleased with Force Awakens, despite our complaints, and looking forward to building off of that. And Rogue One was definitely a good nostalgia sell, purely.
Yeah.
But I pretty much said I'd kill it or only adapt verbatim the EU stuff for fans, where it's like, this is something that to some degree is approved by Lucas for his universe, so let's just adapt that, but otherwise let's not create anything. But I'll add an exception or whatever, or another idea to that list. Either kill it or just do the verbatim EU stuff. I would say maybe make new stuff with the original EU writers, like People of Timothy Zahn or
Right.
Frank Lucino, I think, or I know Lucino did like Plagueis and whatnot. If you could develop with those guys new Star Wars products, since they've already been with the story group pre-Disney, they've already been with Lucas, they've picked his brain to novelize this stuff, they would have some insight as opposed to just people like just get hired by Disney. It's like, you're working on Star Wars, like so I can make that exception for new creations technically.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
No, that's it.
I was trying to fill in
while we're talking, so go ahead.
No, actually, I was just trying to fill in. I was just like, if they were going to do everything verbatim from the EU, it would have been a lot. It would have been very expansive, but they could have done it. You look at when Gene Roddenberry passed away. I know you're starting to get into Trek, Rookie. You're starting, or Angus. I don't know if you're a Trekkie at all, Rookie.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay. Well, okay. I love Star Wars and Star Trek. So when I look at Star Trek, I look at Gene Roddenberry passing away. I think it was halfway through the TNG run, the Next Generation. Like he was still around to help pick up literally the next generation of excuse me, of TV shows. But he died. He passed away. But the culture that he had created, the people that worked on the movies in the 80s, the same writers, the same makeup artists, the same actors, the same producers, the same everything. Everything was always in-house. And that's why you had this consistency that ran from late 80s all the way into the 2000s. You had a consistency of canon, lore, and respect because you had the same people just being cycled through. And all these people, they weren't toxic. They all loved the craft. They all loved what they were doing. When you try and create a sequel trilogy with people that are not being cycled from before, that are just all new, then there's a real disconnect there. So even if they had attempted to do the EU, they would have had to have brought people in, like former writers, like you were saying, to help sculpt that future. And they could have done something very much like it, and it would have been beautiful. It would have been glorious. They'd be making money hand over fist. The fandom would have grown by 3 times. We'd be sucking the mouse off right now. But that's not what they wanted.
Nope. Wanted the quick dollar bill, quick factory style.
Yeah, quick, but they had a narrative push. I was watching a video by Odin. Did you guys catch Odin's video today?
No, I didn't.
Odin did a video. It was it was a political one, and he rarely does those. He's a admitted Catholic, and he was talking about how Bob Iger was saying that they're not going to be. It's going to be very hard for them to do any filming in Georgia if the heartbeat bill passes, the one that says you can't have an abortion if a heartbeat can be detected. And that is truly the weight, as we've seen today with the people that got their videos taken down worldwide because they went against the mouse. They had something bad to say about Queen Bee and Captain Marvel, and so Disney shut that crap down. But here again, we have Bob Iger using the weight of Disney company to influence politics in a state, and that, that's a bit that's way too political for a family entertainment company, especially one as wealthy and as large as them, to be exercising that kind of power to try and get a state to knock down a bill. Each state has its own rights. That's the sovereignty of the state. And he had a very passionate video. If you guys have a chance, take a look at it because it was a good one.
Yeah, I got a kick out of that. I've seen some good comments from people. I don't know if they're pro or anti-abortion or to what degree in the middle of that argument, but they're like, yeah, this is a problem for you that, children are your bread and butter fan base. So it's kind of just naturally counterproductive to really push for something that literally kills off potential customers or incentivizing agents to then have parents pay for,
Right. For God's sakes, you should be absolutely, fighting this thing and going in the other direction and taking away condoms. As a matter of fact, make sure everybody gets pregnant. Make sure they have twins, triplets. Start reinforcing that shit. Whatever you need to do, you want as many kids out there as possible. But no, that's not. I guess that's not the narrative. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you had like a huge surplus of poor kids, just do another Captain Marvel challenge and boost your box office that way.
Scoop those little dirty bastards right up off the street. Put them in a row. Get them, keep them dirty. Don't wash them. Put some flowers in their hand. Take one of their shoes off. And then take a picture of them standing next to Captain Whammon. The proud protector of children. And make sure none of them are boys. You don't want them to be boys because if they're boys, then it's going to send the wrong message. We want poor chicks. We want poor little girls. That's what we need.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too that's I think. We'll see. But I said this when this first came a thing where they had that petition from like Don Cheadle, Tessa Thompson, and others. Probably, I think Alyssa Milano as well, of course, crying about the bill and stuff. And they're like, yeah, we're going to boycott Georgia if they pass this. And it's like, if people are flying you from Hollywood to Georgia to film blockbusters, clearly it's cheaper to film there. Even with flying your ass and your film crews out there, it's cheaper than filming it in California. So it all comes down to bottom dollar. You can say all this nice stuff and get people on your side because of Trump derangement associated with abortion and stuff and women's health, that whole argument spin. But at the end of the day, it's a money game. And we'll see if Disney actually if Netflix pulls production from Georgia. Clearly, you save a lot of money in Georgia, which makes sense. It's generally red states in the South. I assume they got pretty lenient tax laws for outside companies to want to film there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a virtue signal. It's just an opportunity to virtue signal and say that they're woke and great. I'm pro-choice, so but I'm not a woman. But at the same time, I think that if that choice is going to be made, that a man should have a decision, especially if it's, his, only if it's his actually. But it's just another opportunity to talk about a woke topic and to get people on their side and make them seem like they're fucking virtuous. And it drives me crazy because the more that these people open their mouths, the less respect I have for some of these actors or actresses that I've really enjoyed since I was a kid, like Alyssa. Oh my God, I went through puberty with her together. I love Alyssa Milano. I loved her in Charmed. I love that whole the whole campy aspect of it. Don't hate me. I like the Batman '60s show too. But seeing that, hearing all this talk and all this rhetoric, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop filming in Georgia. This is just a chance for them to try and look good in front of the woke crowd, in my opinion.
Yeah,
true.
I mean, they were already in Georgia, and Georgia's already a pretty red state. So, like, what did you expect? I mean, Georgia, Alabama, like those states, they're pretty notorious for. I remember I watched this thing about it, and not to get too off the rails with politics, but kind of to explain these type of laws and why it comes up in our conversations, entertainment. So I think it's in Pennsylvania, might have been Philly, I'm not sure, but there is a abortion doctor who got busted essentially doing abortions post like legal developmental age of fetuses, and so they use this to start implementing. I think it went up to Supreme Court. They use this case to then a lot of states use it to enforce quote unquote ridiculous laws to make abortion clinics, which are like I think the death rate for that procedure is lower than like a colonoscopy, so very minimal death rate if at all with this procedure, but still a risk. But because of this case, it was kind of weaponized to limit or stop abortions in a lot of states with restrictive laws, despite the legality of Roe v. Wade. And so it's a lot of like stonewalling the ability to get the procedure. So clinics are generally at least tight ships with money. They don't have a lot of money, and so when you enforce these hospital codes on them, they usually can't renovate to meet that requirement. So it shuts these clinics down. So there's like doctors or proponents that'll like help fund a single clinic in a state and stuff. So, and that's a lot in the South, which I'm for to some degree. But yeah, abortion is already very restrictive in these states, and Hollywood, these companies have already put their money in these states to build up. I'm pretty sure most of the Avengers, Infinity War and Endgame were filmed in these studios in Georgia. So yeah, it's a virtue signal. Like this stuff was already going on for years in Georgia, Alabama, etc. It's a false flag to look good and to try to use Hollywood to steer politics.
Yeah, well put. Yeah.
It's despite my own stance, it's just a very interesting topic. I used to watch a lot of John Oliver. I still watch him despite kind of getting red pilled from Crowder, where he tears his arguments down because he's very slick, to say the least, with his investigative journalism.
Yeah.
Crew. So it's like Crowder kind of opened my eyes. Where it's like, yeah, he's like showing you this, but he's not giving you like the full context. And it's like, oh man, that's what you get for trusting media. So
Yeah.
anyone you follow, you should be trying to tear apart their arguments.
Mm-hmm. To create discussion, conversation. That's what makes you think.
Sorry, the rookie, that you seem like you kind of clammed up on that, but I get it. You're a generally political freak guy.
Oh, okay, yeah, my bad, rookie.
No. This is a good conversation. It's the state of entertainment is how we even get in this conversation.
That's why
you're fine. I was looking for something, and I was trying to not make a bunch of wrestling noises.
Like trying to find my Captain Marvel porn parody.
Yeah, we would have just accused you of scratching your balls or something.
Yeah, I'm surprised you sent me a Starfire poster. I thought you were gonna subvert and.
Oh yeah. Show me. I'll present you. I want to see this if you have it.
I don't have it near me right now.
What in Gaylord? I can't remember how I found it. I think it was like it might have been like an Indiegogo project or something. Like the creator had like a link to buy previous iterations of his comic, and it was his website. And I looked at like all the products, and I saw that, and it was like $1 plus like $4 shipping. I'm like, that's a great fucking deal. And Rookie has been steered to read Starfire, so it's just like in the making. I got to send this way. It'll be pertinent to recent developments with Rookie's reading.
Yeah, it was confusing to me because the name said somebody else and it said PayPal, and I was like, did I fucking buy this? Did somebody get into my PayPal and buy this or something? Because I didn't order this. Did I order this? Did this come with the comic book that I bought? Like, I was so confused.
Oh, wait, didn't I have it sent to, like, it was your address, but I had it sent to, like, Black Angus?
It
did not
didn't
have
say
it.
Black Angus on here at all. So.
It's weird. No, because I remember I specifically put that for like shipping, where it's like Black Angus rookie's
No,
address.
it said some other name or something, and I was like, I don't know who that is. And I was like, well, that's just weird. And I know you said you were going to send me something. And I was like, this must be Angus trying to trick the fuck out of me or something.
Yeah, I'll have to go through my PayPal and figure out what company it was, so then I can like go back and see this website, because it's a comics website.
Yeah, but that was funny though. I was like, oh my gosh. There's no room on my walls for more posters.
Dude, that's a problem for me too, because like in my office, I got. It's funny. I watched one of those videos of like a guy looking at Star Wars like fan art, and like most of it is like essentially like porn parody stuff. Like even if it's not like explicit, it's like clearly going that way, like shipping type of fan art, like Ahsoka especially, or just really weird, cringy Star Wars art and stuff. And he showed one where it's like Slave Leia, but it ends up like that's Greg Horn, a Marvel comic artist. I actually have that poster from a toy store. He had that, and I'm like, dude, I got toys to trade. I fucking want that poster. And yeah, I got it because it's like Hot Leia looks kind of like an Angelina Jolie type of model who stood in for Leia. And she got all these tattoos where it's like I think it says like "Pet My Wookiee" or something over her crotch.
Oh, damn.
So it's got all sorts of cool innuendos or jokes. It's got like "Daddy's Girl" or something like that with like a Vader tat on her, and she's like choking out Jabba and like the Gamorrean guard. Like all these people are like weak at the knees looking at her, despite it's really hot. Hot art, and I was like, "What? How are you gonna crap on this? This is fuck you." But yeah, I love finding weird shit. But my whole wall is just covered in like I got like a Spider-Gwen statue, I got eagles, I got Black Panther, like 6-foot poster from FYE, Betty Page, Devil, Angus, a couple of stuff from Regal Cinemas posters, toys, DVD stands. Like yeah, I'm very meticulous finding space on my wall.
You're a very eclectic bigot.
Yeah, that is a state of things. I'm trying to think some recent. Oh yeah, okay. So I don't know if y'all are aware, but if you saw my picture I posted today and yesterday, I went to go see Mastodon and Coheed and Cambria here in Columbus, and because my wife wasn't able to go, because even though she knew about this like 2 months ago about the tickets, it was kind of me reminding her with short notice. So she didn't have a babysitter. She couldn't go. I got a friend to come, and
oh yeah, how loud? That's okay.
hey, give me 1 minute. I'm gonna be right back. Y'all continue the conversation. I'll bring this back up.
Sure.
All right, that's fine. Yeah. So how's the writing going, man? Or the editing, right? You're in the editing process.
I am in the editing process. Well, I have like 2 more chapters to write. The Game of Thrones is still kicking my ass. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with that. But I keep adding stuff. Tonight I had to add stuff to 2 chapters. I had to add stuff to, let's see, where are we at? Oh, yeah, chapter 15, Captain Marvel, the most protected movie in history. I had to add a couple things to that because of the stuff, the shenanigans that went on tonight.
Right.
And I had to add a little bit to Chapter 2, Patient Zero, because Chris Hemsworth decided to say some not so nice things about the Ghostbusters fandom. So, hey, it's just another quote. Got to put it in.
Of course.
So, yeah, I was doing that. We're just working through placement. I'm still waiting for George, which is a guy nobody knows. He's just a Whovian who just wanted to write a chapter on Doctor Who, because I couldn't do it. It'd be like me writing about Stargate. Like, I don't know jack about Stargate.
I know more about Stargate than I know that one.
Gotcha. Right. So I don't want to do that. That would just be untrue to the spirit of the book. I want fans to write, from a fan perspective.
I like your honesty with all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I could do it, but it wouldn't have been right. And then I'm waiting on Jesse, who I'm suspecting is going to send me something polished, because the last thing I heard from Jesse Milestone was, I'm already doing the first edits. I don't want to send it to you if it's incomplete.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. It was
Sure,
really
yeah,
nice.
I know the struggle with the writing. It's like, okay, is it done? No, I could have added this. Okay, let's see how that works. And then it's like a huge process.
It is. It is.
I'm trying to keep myself from doing that too. Like with this project I'm trying to work on now, I'm trying to work on the filming stage and not keep on making re-edits or something. Just done.
Right.
Yeah, I remember when you were doing, I think it was the rookies test, you're like, you kept waiting for submissions and delaying, and then you had to keep re-editing your stuff, and you're like, yeah, it's taking forever to render. It's like, yeah, you should just rip it and then edit the new clips in the new.
Yeah, I plan on breaking this up into sections when I'm editing, so that if it goes 10 minutes, then that'll be one section, and I'll edit that how I need to, or keep that one project file open and work on a different one, so that it's not all slow, because it gets slower the more data's in it or something. So
Right.
for the editing process.
Yeah. Angus, I don't know if you understand this. I know Rookie does, but when you're a creator and you make something and you fall in love with it, then you start working on it, and then you go back to it and go, okay, well, this can be different. Then you go back to it, okay, this would be different. Then you go back, okay, and you just keep doing that, because there's this point where you're creating something and you're sure of yourself because you're doing the creation, but you're unsure because it needs to be perfect, and there's always some kind of wheel turning in your creativity,
and then it never ends up being finished.
Right, exactly. Or you eventually just have to put it down and go, okay, that's it, I'm not touching it again. You have to force yourself, like an addiction, like you're crack addict. I'm not going to pick that pipe up again. I'm just going to let it sit.
If it fails or doesn't fail, it's just gotta be done.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So going back really quick. So yeah, I went to coding camp.
So you got your time to come.
Went to see Coding Cambria and Mastodon. Uploaded a few clips from some songs I recorded. Great time. Roped a friend into going. He's not into rock. He's and he's an introvert, so is not his forte. And being sworn by a bunch of bearded white guys listening to like screaming metal was definitely a shock to the system, I think.
What was his preferred music genre?
He's just kind of a chill guy. He likes just, I guess, modern pop.
Talking like Blink 182, Nickelback.
No. He's a black guy. He's not like, thug culture or anything, but he's kind of a timid, tame black guy. But my music's not his forte for sure. But it's like, hey, you know what? We haven't hung out in a while. Wife can't go. How about you come and just experience something new? And I got to meet Hoff Solo in person because he's here in Columbus area as well. Wow. And so yeah, it was a fun time, and yeah, he let me have some smokes too. Like I dip, so I don't really smoke, but let me have smokes, which I'll smoke at a concert. And not only was it smokes he was letting me bum, but they were Native American Spirit cigarettes. I'm like, shit, he let me have like 5 or 6 of those fuckers. This was like $8 a pack,
Yeah, they last forever too. Does he look like Jesse Milestone in real life?
No, he's I don't want to. I'm trying to think how to explain like that and not sound like gay. He's got a great set of hair on his head. Natural kind of feathered texture. And I was like, no, it's not. When you're bald, you really notice people's hair. And so I really appreciated that. He had some stubble, 5 o'clock shadow, what have you. And just cool, lanky guy. Clearly, likes to play guitar and stuff. Like I already knew, has that kind of look to him. Just a rock guy. And we talked rock all throughout and stuff. And he knew the words like Mastodon. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude! It's hard to find people that like know Mastodon. This is fucking great. And I didn't realize it was a 10-year anniversary for Crack the Sky, which is the album I found them on. And so it was a great time. And then Coheed, man, they were like relentless with they're not like hard in your face, but they have a spirit to them, and I knew some of their songs. I own one of the records, and yeah, it was like full throttle excitement and fun. It was, I thought I would prefer Mastodon to Close because that's my preferred band of the two, but Coheed I think was more uplifting. I remember when I was a kid and first I went to college, this girl I liked was hanging out there, and I just found Mudvayne at the time, and we're hanging out listening to it, and we're drunk and shit, and she's like, this is lonely people music. And I was like taken aback. I was like, oh crap, listening to loser music. She's like, no, I like it, and it's like, oh, you don't expect a pretty girl to love lonely people, rock and roll, metal.
Right.
So I've always just kind of kept that idea. It's like, yeah, this is kind of my personality. I just like shit that the norm isn't going to like. You know, I like classic stuff, but modern stuff I find weird shit.
Nice.
But yeah, it was a fun time. I'll probably upload the Coheed clip. I think it's from Welcome Home. But yeah, it was great. It was funny because I was talking like, man, I hope they play the song from number 3, and they did. It was one of the first songs. Like, yes, and it's a great time. Definitely want to do more concerts with Hoff solo if I can afford it. So look forward to that. Look forward to hanging out with them. Maybe doing some streams after movies in the future.
Nice. Yeah, I like him. No homo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I met an Eagles fan too. He's his family's originally from Mexico. I guess he immigrated as a kid, and he saw my hat, and he's like, "Go Birds!" And we ended up talking and got a sub from him. I don't know if he, unsubbed later, but he seemed happy to sub me initially because I'm like, yeah, I do football and Star Wars. I'm trying to bridge those fandoms. And his friend was like, maybe he's a fake Philly fan. He just gets subs that way. And I'm like, no. We talked Philly for a good 10 minutes.
Damn right.
So yeah, it was a good time. I haven't been to a
national.
concert. I haven't been to a concert since last year at the same place. I saw Diane toured. If you ever saw the movie Chappie, the weird chick with the weird hair and the guy with her, that's an actual couple that makes that band. They do like Afrikaans rap, which is their style is Zeph, and Zeph is I read about Zeph. It's kind of like in America, you got like poor people in like the quote unquote ghettos, like wiggers and whatnot that wear like the chains and the saggy pants and all that, but they're broke. They have like tricked out cars, but like a shitty home and no money. That's kind of what Zeph is. It's kind of like a
Ghetto fabulous.
It's kind of ghetto fabulous. Kind of like a postmodern mockery of that in a way, but also an embracing of the trash. It's really weird. They did a, I don't know if he was in the song, but they did a video with Marilyn Manson, so they do some weird shit.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely check them out. They got some fun. Their video's kind of maybe off-putting though, so yeah, you gotta go in the right state of mind to watch their videos.
What kind of music do you like, Rookie?
Preferably rock. Sometimes some rap here and there. Just kind of random stuff. I mean, there's no rock is my favorite genre, I would say, and then
you don't like African tribal music?
I don't think I have any on my playlist now.
Man,
fucking bigot.
You ain't seen it. So you seen Rookie out there dancing around a bonfire in a grass skirt, carrying like a pom-pom leaf, a bunch of face paint on.
Yeah, I can imagine Rookie as like one of the gorilla tribe from Wakanda, like hey papa or whatever the chant is. Yeah,
I wouldn't even come close to making any of those noises. I sound literally like a retard. That's the stuff I can get. Yeah, I think I'd be more with the rapping or something,
You'd be drumming.
What?
I said you'd be drumming. You'd be in the drum circle.
Oh yeah.
Bone through your nose, just slapping away at that deer skin, whatever the hell it is.
I would love Rookie to culturally appropriate Wakanda.
Yes,
I can appropriate modern Wakanda probably.
No, I want you to wear like their tribal garb, like when they're at the pit.
Oh yeah, you're getting in that fight. You're eating that swallow shit and everything, dude. We're sending you out there.
Oh no! See, my worst fear would be the food.
Oh, dude, yeah, dude. Some of those African tribes, they I think they mix like milk and like cow's blood and shit for like fertility or something. It's like, what the? I get, practicality. It's iron.
But, I don't even like mustard. Like, I don't think I'd like that.
I know. I told Rookie, it's like, dude, one of my favorite pastime foods is ramen and mustard. And the story with that, in case you're like, what the fuck is?
Yeah, there has to be a story.
So when I was I think my senior year, towards the end, might have been right after I graduated, my mom had duties for the month at church to provide breakfast, but we were poor that month, so she bought hot dogs, a huge platter of hot dogs, and of course only people that go to this church are sometimes during like I guess holiday time or like Easter or whatever, Christmas.
Mhm.
You get like an influx of Mexicans with like the few Mexican families that actually attend regularly. And of course, the old people that go to this church. I'm from Oklahoma, so there's Southeast Oklahoma doesn't have a lot of Catholics, and so it's a small church, a lot of old people or Mexicans, and she's providing a platter of hot dogs for breakfast at 10 in the morning. So you got old people like hot dogs. So we had a whole bunch of fucking hot dogs for the weekend, and my friend stayed that weekend, and so we were just slamming hot dogs, and then we ended up killing the platter. And I wanted mustard. I was really digging some mustard and had no hot dogs. So then I got the idea, well, I got ramen, at worst I'll just get another pack. And what I do is I drain the ramen. I don't mix it with the water. And so I put the mustard in, like, this is amazing.
Oh,
so it's
good.
just always stuck with me.
Yeah,
And I told Rookie, he's like, oh, I hate mustard. I'm like, dude, I love it on my ramen, dude. Like, what's wrong with you?
So what I'm saying is that I would fucking die if I was in Africa, like or Wakanda.
man, Rookie would be tearing open logs, eating bugs. He'd be singing Hakuna Matata a whole day. He'd be fine.
Maybe.
Oh, I could just see Rookie. He had the hardest time eating a banana.
Oh
What?
yeah.
He ate the banana.
There's a video on my channel with me trying to eat a banana, and it was nasty.
What?
He peeled it and then he ate it like a corn cob.
The top was nasty. I didn't want to eat that.
Yeah, you just nibbling the side. You didn't like the cream at the top.
Yeah, I was like, it's all looking all rotted, man. I'm not gonna eat that.
Oh boy. It's all hot dogs, nanas, a lot of phallic imagery going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He brought the hot
too.
dogs.
See, I'm a guy. I'll try stuff. So like one time I was wanting some sour cream. We had the hot dog, so I tried sour cream, and it wasn't bad. It tasted good because I like sour cream. But when you put thick white creamy stuff on a hot dog, you get an image in your head, and you're like, oh, I gotta eat this with my eyes closed, But,
it's a very uncircumcised image.
yeah, needless to say that that trend didn't last beyond one outing.
No, really, I can't imagine why. You hang around with your boys, you're dipping it in the cream.
And they're all nice and deep, like.
Nice and deep, like, yeah.
I love that scene.
It's bad enough that your YouTube channel sounds like you could be a porn star.
And this is on a Godzilla stream, right?
Well, I changed.
Are we talking about Godzilla?
We were.
I'm sorry.
No. Godzilla Talk's already done. I invited Leon because he works at a theater, so he already saw it. And
what do you think of it?
He generally agreed with me. It was like I think he gave it a better score than I did, but we seemed to both agree on all the points of like it's a very uneven film. Definitely go see it if you like Godzilla. It's better cinematic wise, like the spectacle than the first one.
See, I like old school Godzilla, like the kind my dad brought me up on with Mothra.
Damn it! Okay, this is one thing I forgot, and this isn't like a huge spoiler for the plot or anything, but when Godzilla comes up at one point, they play. It's kind of redone, and it's got sound effects with it, but they actually redo the da 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 da. I'm like, oh my god, yes, because like they brought back in the first Godzilla, they brought back the original, roar with like the reverse, the track of a cello reversed. It's crazy that I learned that they made the original Godzilla roar from like a backwards track of like a cello or a bass violin.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus, they're so ingenuitive, And that was back in '54 when they made that. So
it's a lot of creativity going on in music and art and entertainment in those days, in those decades.
The fact that still lasts and is convincing is amazing. Because you'll hear people like Chewie. He's like a mix of like dog and tiger and stuff with his sounds. But no, it's just crazy. I love. Oh yeah, the other thing too, watching the actual like credits roll while I was waiting for the post credit. Industrial Light and Magic has done some CGI for this movie, so Disney's even getting a cut off this Warner Brothers movie.
Well, I mean, since the '80s, Industrial Lights and Magic has been sought after, for collaboration. So You know,
It wasn't a surprise, but it's just like, damn it, I'm giving Disney money even when I'm not going to a Disney movie. Like, fuck.
yeah, we're all slaves. We're all slaves to the mouse now.
Yeah, I saw somewhere, it might be in Grace Randolph, I think 14 of the top 15 movies, which are all like recent, huge box office blockbusters, Disney. I think the only one in the top 15 is Jurassic World, which is Universal.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just
Disney.
like every Star Wars, every Disney live action, every Marvel movie that comes out, it's just shoving Jurassic World further down the list.
Poor
Yeah.
Jurassic World.
It's not even that I'm rooting for that movie, because clearly Avengers movies are way better, but
They are.
it's just like there's like, it's just like, it's kind of like the idea of my comic where it's like Disney takes over everything, like
Yeah, and I don't want to see it
I'll have my
happen.
Disney Coca-Cola now, please.
yeah, dude. Okay, so you're an author, so I assume you read some. I think it's called like Blueprints of the Afterlife. Have you ever heard of this book?
Yes.
Okay, so have you read it?
No, but I've known people who have, and I've discussed it.
Okay, so I found it in Afghanistan. It was like in our library, which is generally just a bunch of like bullshit paperbacks that people send. But this one was in there and it stood out because just different look, bigger book, etc. So I grabbed it and I started reading. It's like this kind of web of different stories across time, and it's mostly in like a future. And this one guy is, I guess, a veteran. He's reminiscing about like he's got like a Coca-Cola pistol, and like all these different companies have ended up owning armies and shit. And it's like I can see that, it's kind of like that idea mixed with like what basketball shows where it's like one of the stadiums is like the Maxi Pad Stadium. Where it's like just bullshit companies end up buying, like Tennessee Titans, like Nissan Stadium,
Yeah, it reminds me of the Fight Club, when they were talking about, when we go out into space, it's going to be the Starbucks Stellosphere. Like that's the different corporations are going to own, are going to be naming and owning different planets and areas of space. Like, I mean, even Alien. You go back as far as Alien, and they were talking about the corporation, which got flushed out to the Weyland Corporation. But like, that's the idea. Like, that's what it's going to be. Like, we're not going to start traveling to the stars, for instance, until it's profitable for companies to do so. Then we're going to be out there going, hopping galaxies.
Yeah, my McDonald's spacesuit equipped for 400-pound guys.
That's right. That's
there's a video. Excuse me. There's a video.
Swallow.
There's a video.
420.
There's a video I need to watch. From Wisecrack popped up in my feed, where it's I'm not sure if it's like a long form like session of like 3 or 4 people talking, for it's just like a scripted video, but it's questioning, is Wall-E our future? And like, the fat people in space and stuff. And it's like, I remember talking to Odin a long time ago when we did that stream with them, where it's like, I said, like, I think the future is going to be a mix of the movie Her, where we're relying on essentially AI for relationships, and Wall-E, we're complacent with the over-industrialization and idiocracy. I think that's like a blend of our future.
Yeah, probably. I can't see us being like super fit in the next 20 years as a country or nothing. So
yeah, because I'm a fat guy. I go to like Kroger and I look around. It's like, Jesus, like this is like the prime time for shopping, and it's just like everyone's kind of overweight, and it's just
unless they make fat foods as healthy foods, then we're doomed.
Yeah, that's the weird thing too. Is like generally, natural food should be cheap. It should be what the peasants are eating. Is like of the earth.
What they need to do is they need to make healthy foods taste like nasty fat foods, like fast foods. Like if they can make asparagus taste like Wendy's, I am down.
See, my thing was the opposite, where they make like a chocolate bar be as healthy as an apple.
There you go.
My idea as a kid was that they inject an apple, or they take out the nutrients from an apple with a syringe and then they inject it into like a burger, and then there you go. That was my idea as a kid.
My idea is, I don't know if it caught on, but there was, if I remember, there was like flavor spray. There was like 0 calorie, but it's like, oh, here's like a ranch spray, or here's like a whatever spray, and you just spray it on. Like, man, this salad is like eating a sundae, but there's no calories from it, you know?
Right. I really want this hot dog to be covered in cream cheese, but I don't want the white residue to be so protruding. So I'm just gonna spray this on it. It's a little shiny hot dog that tastes like cream cheese.
A little bit.
I'm rationing my last bit of water. It's at the bottom of my bottle. I'm just like, I got heartburn, but I don't want to
Because
just
then you
like.
have to get up and get more. You don't want to get up and get more.
That's the thing. Yeah, I'm rationing it right now.
Yeah.
I feel like John Wick 3, where he's got that bottle of water. It's like a little bit at the bottom, and he's like saving in the desert.
Smart idea.
Well, there's another reason too, because the chick that gave it to him spit all the water in the bottom as a diss to him. So it's like, well,
Oh damn!
you're thirsty, so fuck you.
Yeah, you don't drink bitch water. Nope.
That's
I
right.
was gonna run something by real quick. So
Yeah.
sure. Sorry for Steven. So
Mhm.
do you like Game of Thrones, or did you like Game of Thrones anyway before season 8?
Yes. The answer to that is yes.
I'm gonna make so I'm doing my skit trilogy thing, and I don't know if you saw my Rotten Tomato skit things before, but I'm gonna include a mini thing. You know, Pixar has like little things like at the beginning of before they start the movie or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have that with Rotten Tomatoes stop motion, and it's gonna be called Game of Tomatoes.
Uh-huh.
And they're gonna be fighting the Skywalkers.
Mm-hmm.
They're the White Walkers.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yep, and it's just gonna be.
I'm waiting for comments when you air this. They're gonna get to that part like, but it was fine. I don't get that Skywalker thing though. You're doing Game of Thrones, dude. You know.
Yeah, it's White Walkers, Skywalkers. And it's, I'm gonna have like little Anakin figures or something as the zombies, and it's just gonna be Game of Thrones but with tomatoes. I mean,
Yeah, right.
little shorts. You like
Nice.
the idea of that?
Yeah, man. If you can make it funny, do it.
Yeah,
Especially if you can cut on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm gonna see if I can find British-speaking people in the community that can voice them.
Dude, call Anthony Ergo. Give him a shout. There's another guy. I just talked to yesterday, Darth something. I was on Mary's show with him. I can't think of his name.
David R. Probably.
Yeah.
Yep. A bunch of people in the community I can contact with. I already got people cast for those ones.
You are a social pimp.
Yeah, thanks, man. Oh, and I'm gonna have Nerdrotic on my channel next week.
There you go.
Are you? Are you seriously gonna do that?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I'll check that out, man. Let me know what time.
We haven't agreed on a time yet, but Thursday looks like the day.
Yeah, you let me know, man. I would love to hear that. That's great. I'm glad that Gary's gonna check that. Gonna come down and get on one with you.
Yep, it's cool. He says the lads. I think when he refers to me and Angus, he calls us the lads, I think.
Well, he calls you the heart and soul of the Fandom menace.
Yeah, no, I think he actually
That's
watches some of my. I think he watches some of my videos because he said, without me even doing a super chat or anything, it was just in the middle of one of his live streams. He was like, "Man, I love this stuff. Like how like the rookie critic's doing his own thing and filming his own stuff and whatnot." And I was like, "Oh shit, did he watch my videos? Okay, sweet." That's cool. That's high praise.
That is high praise, because Gary, he wasn't, he was only a couple tens of thousands when I started watching him, I think.
Yeah.
He's almost at 100K.
Yeah, and he's been 6,000 away from 100K.
Yeah.
Oh, and that Star Wars girl watched my Rotten Tomatoes videos also.
That's good. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm almost afraid to ever talk to Anna. What if she gets angry? But then I watch his videos with her and Jeremy when she just says some shit. Like she was talking about how bad, what'd she say? She didn't care about Paul Walker's death. And somehow through this conversation all of this, it got to the point where it was like being able to possibly infer that Anna would eat human burgers. It was quite entertaining.
Oh, yeah. I was in my head. I was like, this rant needs to be shot in the head.
No, yeah. Well, sometimes I like just silly
Oh, I know.
things like that.
They're just complete off topic. Like today, with Julie and Odin. Odin was saying how the rats and Cinderella, or I don't know how the hell this got into the conversation. They said that the mice were inspired by rats, and they're like, no, it isn't. It was like a half an hour of them arguing about what if the mice in Cinderella were inspired by rats or not. And I was like, why does this exist? Why is this
Yeah,
happening?
Well, I mean, if you know anything about a lot of like fairy tales, a lot of them are from Black Death age of
Mhm.
Europe, so it wouldn't be a stretch to say, especially with like the death obsession in art post Black Death, that would make sense.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of crazy things going on when those fairy tales were written, or those rhymes were first written.
It's just funny because it was like about censorship and Brie Larson, and then somehow there's like 45 minutes in that stream of them arguing about a mouse and rat in a cartoon.
It was funny. You're talking about tangent stuff. Like I was watching War Campaign. I was catching up on their 100th stream this today, and they were talking about Christopher Priest, the guy's writing Vampirella, coming out in July. That Caesar's pushing for the boycott to push boost this #1 issue because Christopher Priest is a bit red pilled for the shill comic media who try to trap him with a two genders topic in their email conversation, and he's quick to be like, no, you're not gonna trap me. Like, I'm Christian. I have a certain viewpoint, regardless of how liberal he might be, and I appreciate that. And of course, we love it. And they're talking about how he walked away from comics for a while because he kind of got typecast as like the minority writer. It's like, oh, we got a black character, let's get Christopher Priest, and he's like, I'm not just because I'm black. I'm just gonna, like, anyone can write any character if they write it well. And they offered him Deathstroke, and apparently, I don't know if this is a true like verbatim quote, but they summarized that he asked, "Is he still white?"
What?
Because it's like, don't put me on a black character just because I'm a black guy. And
wow.
The fact that this guy has to ask, "Is he still white?" I think kind of shows that there's a problem in entertainment trying to erase white male characters that aren't turned gay or trans or whatever, or villains.
Like that is ridiculous. And that you're right. I mean, I just heard that story for the first time, but that's exactly it. Like, why are we being called racists when that's what these companies see? That's the people that are running them. Like, that's all they see. So why are we the racist? I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah, when I watched Godzilla, because Tywin is essentially the main villain.
Is he?
Despite King Ghidorah, it's really Godzilla's movie.
Right.
I heard complaints where it's like, oh, this is people are trying to dog this movie critically because it's about Godzilla and not the people. But I thought it was actually pretty even exchange. I waited for the movie to just completely get away from the people, and it never did. They were kind of the catalyst for the plot a lot. To get you to like the fights and stuff. I'm like, I can deal with that. So I was kind of, my expectations subverted thanks to the critics. But when Tywin comes in, I really expected, especially with Vera Farmiga playing, a female scientist and her girl child, main characters in this plot, I really expected white males to be the problem or something. It never turned out that way. Like, they do have like a diverse cast in the military for this movie, but it never actually turns into any SJW-ness, in my opinion. Being hyper aware in the Phantom Menace, looking for this stuff, so you can be like, there it is again.
I'm telling you,
I was really surprised they even if that was like the intent with the casting, they managed it where it never felt that way.
Good. That's good to hear. If SJWs ever read my books, they're going to love my bad guys. I just thought about this. They're going to love them. They're called Valkyra. They mostly live underground. They're very, very pale skin, almost like a pearly skin. And they're misogynists, male-dominated society. As a matter of fact, they have a place called the Temple of Azora, where they kidnap women from the surface, humans, to see if that they can breed with them, because it's very difficult for their species to breed. So they put them through trials of, fill in the blanks. And they use them, if they can't breed, they use them as just, to pleasure whatever. They're not even human to them. There are very few women in that society that hold power. One of my main characters is is one of these women. But look, everything from when I write out the description of the Undercity, when you first come into it at the beginning of toward the beginning of book 1, and you go to this place called the Triple Torn, which is like their White House, I guess. And in the middle of this courtyard is a giant, 60-foot tall demon god with the dog face god, and he's got a huge dick hanging down between his legs, like just male dominance all over the place. I'm exaggerating, of course, but it's like male dominance everywhere. They're gonna love it. Like if they actually read this book, I might be able to make money off them.
Yeah, that's funny you said it, because with Brightburn, like Grace Randolph was pretty explicit in her reply tweets on her initial tweet of like, I've decided not to review Brightburn, blah blah blah, and it's pretty. I gave her the benefit out of my review, but I said I really think it's probably. I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt that maybe because she's so feminist and always talking about representation, diversity.
Is she really?
In her reviews, I thought maybe she was checking herself, where it's like, I'm not going to be able to give a fair opinion given my slant. So I gave her that benefit of the doubt, but in her response tweets, it was like, how would I put this? You know how you see it repeatedly, like it's probably going to come up again with Call of Duty coming out, but there's always this argument of like violent video games cause school shootings, or that connotation. She was kind of, I would say, explicit in her replies, insinuating that this male character that, pretty explicitly hurts various females in this movie. Yeah, it seemed like there was some kind of like, the idea of violence to women in film encourages violence to women in real life, despite this movie being about a villainous Superman premise.
Now, does she talk about those kinds of opinions in her videos? Because I've watched a few of her videos and never really got any kind of feeling that she was being overly biased, or is this like just her responding to people?
Well, one of her, like, she did Infinity War, and one of her complaints was killing Gamora as like these Russo brothers, they're gonna have to fix this, or Kim Feige to fix this representation with women. And it's like, who the fuck else is Thanos gonna kill for the stone? Like, what? This is already established,
Right.
That's
if it was his son, that'd be okay.
Yeah, and and then in game she said like, it wasn't explicit, but there was like a fresh little breeze of LBGT, yada yada, and she's always talking about like women representation and gay representation. It's so patronizing. She's always talking about people of color. She crapped on that like American remake of that disability movie with like Cranston and Kevin Hart. And she's like, this isn't a good look, especially after this whole gay incident with Kevin Hart in the Oscars and blah, blah, blah. It's like
gay incident.
And it's just funny, because even I think she's like, a well-intentioned person, but it just comes off so and so I, when I comment on her videos, it's usually only because I'm like, quit with this color bullshit. It's so patronizing. It's like, my grandparents probably drank out of colored water fountains, so quit calling me colored, like.
Right. No shit.
Yeah, I did joke I wanted to do a minority only stream series called Persons of Colored Water Fountains.
Dude. If you do that, I promise I will come and listen.
And the whole idea is just mock the SJWs, because it's like you realize like you've reclaimed this term. It's like, I don't want it. Like,
Angus, you have affected me so much in the short time that I've seen you. For instance, I can't hear Brie Larson without saying Brie Larson.
Brie Larson.
Rookie too.
Brie Larson.
Like the idea, because the idea in my head was, I really hope this blows up and SJW would just downvote my video to hell just to help the algorithm, because
They would have.
it doesn't matter how bad your dislike ratio is. If you respond that way, it helps the algorithm. And so I expected it to blow up and get like a 50-50 response or worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to have Rookie like use an alternate account on Twitter and push this to like SJW Spider-Man and be like, look what this fucker did, and like make fake outrage and use him like EVS does.
Dude, we have to find there has to be a way to get that out there, because there's a few times in your life when you see comedy gold, something that will make you cringe. Well, for me, that was a white dude that just made me cringe, but I couldn't help it. It was so funny and the message was so on point.
Great video, I know.
Such a good video.
I sent it to Jeff Hicks, and I didn't think I would get a reply so fast at the time, because it was before like he found me on Facebook, so we have a little more connection to talk about it. But I messaged him and I was like, hey, like this got banned on YouTube. Like, do you have any pointers? Like, what do you think?
Do you have any pointers?
I was like,
you know damn well you just wanted Jeff to see that video because he'd love it.
Oh yeah. I just wanted to see it. But I literally asked him, like, do you have any pointers to like edit this to make it safe for YouTube? And he's like, well, clearly the cartoon didn't help you. I'm like, yeah, but I thought I could get away with it because it's from YouTube. And he's like, I would double the number of black people you reference. And I'm like, holy shit, like that was annoying as fuck to edit with 30. Like 60. Fuck.
He said double it.
And yeah, so I did think about making like doing a re-edit script of like just being completely serious. And but I was like, man, I put so much effort and had so much fun with this, and then it gets banned. I'm like, it's not even worth it now.
And it's beautiful. It is a work of art. It is genius. It is the kind of comedy that sticks with you because it's making a point and it makes you uncomfortable while doing it.
Yeah, if we ever make like a legitimate, like well trafficked website, or if I do myself, then I'll definitely upload it there. Even though it's removed from the release time to be very topical, I think it still says a lot.
We will just wait, like in 10 years when you're like a hotshot producer, and rookies out there just yelling at people, just directing and just chewing people the fuck out because they do not understand what he is directing them to do. Then yeah, we'll put that thing back out. We'll buy our own website, put that thing back out.
Yeah, the whole idea, I was waiting for you, like, you fucking racist, blah blah blah, you bigot, and then just counter them like once that's like, I'm black, like, and then they're like, oh, and then and then the ads are like, yeah, I'm bi, and just really lay it on them where it's like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And
so you fail, so fuck you.
Yeah, that's what I appreciate. People cringed. I watched the replay of EVS with the trans person. I can't remember the name, but they're like, "Can I tell a rape joke?" And he's like, "No." And I like, no, don't worry. It's like this is SJW free, like and it's about me. So And then he's like, "Fine, sure." And he told it, and it's like. I got assaulted at a gay bar by two guys, and one of the guys pissed on my face, and the joke is, it's like, God, it's like, this is a rape, not a jellyfish sting. I won't fix the problem. And I died laughing because it's like, I don't know how long it took him to make this joke, but he, in a real assault that he suffered, he found the silver lining for comedy's sake.
Wow.
And that's beautiful. And it clearly shows that whatever politics she has and feelings and whatnot, she's clearly not just what I deem libtard, where they can't have a conversation at all or have a joke, because
absolutely.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, because there's this, I think like an Irish, or I don't know what nationality, but there's like this white lesbian chick had like a stand-up thing, and I watched a clip on Crowder, and it was just like talking about being raped, and male culture or whatever, right? I don't know what it was, but it's supposed to be a comedy stand-up routine, but it was like, this isn't funny at all, like there's no spin to it. It's just talking about rape and shit. And it's like,
Wow.
it's like someone needs to edit a laugh track into this. Like, now it's a comedy.
That's some 60s, 70s comedy right there, man. You can't make that kind of comedy nowadays.
Yeah, I'm not a Mel Brooks fan, but I've rewatched Blazing Saddles, and I can appreciate it. Like it's like what? It's like he's a honk,
I got an interesting story about that because I am a Mel Brooks fan, and I used to work at I guess I shouldn't say where it was, but anyway, when I worked there, I was trained by a guy named Dormain. And Dormain was probably my first black friend since high school, and he was a cool dude. And we were in two different worlds. He was from South Carolina. The reason he moved up here was because he had been shot a bunch of times. Like, he was gangster down there, came up here to start over, and he was starting over. He was a little dude too, like you wouldn't expect it, like Tupac. And we were just, we were hanging out so much that one day he dropped me off and he said, "Steve, use my N-word." And I stopped and I looked back in the car and I said, "Dormain, as a white man, you have no idea what that means to me." Like totally deadpan. And so after that, great friends, used to hang out, download music back when you could download music off the internet, drink, have a good time. And then one night I wanted to show him Blazing Saddles, and I really thought he would get it because I thought I understood his humor completely. It's like, you are going to get this. This is making fun of, of racism and just right out there. Just calling shit out for what it is and just making fun of it. And we sat down, he watched the whole thing, and he didn't like it. He didn't tell me until the next day. He was like, "Man, I didn't like that." He was like, "But I got a movie for you." And I said, "Okay." So the following week, he came over with his buddy, and he brought a couple party favors and made me watch. Oh my God, what's that movie called? The Pimp. What is that Pimp movie called? It's an old school, famous black cinema movie. What is that called? The Mac. Yes. Yes. And it was funny. It was like it was a real turnabout for him, but in a nice way. Like I exposed him to something that made him feel uncomfortable, so he exposed me to something that made me feel uncomfortable, and then but our friendship didn't weaken by that. Like, it's strengthened by that. You become more honest with somebody, and that's how I think you become better friends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me and Ricky have had some good conversations. It's funny. So I did I don't know if you saw this blow up on Twitter, but for whatever reason, the 1971 John Wayne interview from Playboy became a hot topic on Twitter.
Yes.
And I was literally that morning at work, I was talking to Rookie Critic, because I have a 50 Years of Playboy giant-ass book. And of course, it's got, centerfolds and all that, but it's really a history book of Playboy, and it talks about, like being across from, like they built Playboy across from like the huge the main Catholic church in like Chicago downtown and stuff, which was a strategic location, to say the least, and, civil rights history of Playboy and whatnot that people don't know about. And there's clips of like famous interviews of different people. And there's a clip from that interview of John Wayne. And despite whatever intrinsic racism he might have or whatever that he wasn't, born with and lived with and stuff, I find some truth in it. Regardless of his intent or his viewpoint, I think he has a real truth or question in regards to like affirmative action and stuff. And so I read the full context where he's talking about, he believes in white supremacy until black people are educated to stand on their own and not have handouts to.
Hold up. John Wayne said that?
Yeah.
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, he said, I believe in white supremacy until black people can essentially until black people can stand on their own, and he's against affirmative action and stuff. And I'm against affirmative action. I listen to like Larry Elder sometimes, and he kind of has the same sentiment where it's like government can't make people equal. Larry Elder gave an example of like, when I grew up, we had Little Italy. And if you're black, you didn't eat there because they'll spit in your food. But eventually, it's black people, and they want your money. So they, just for economy's sake, they are nicer to you because they want your money. And he's like, that's how you fix it. You know, the economy kind of can fix social dilemmas in large part, or just,
Mm-hmm.
passage
Well,
of
yeah, I
time.
agree. Right.
And so, yeah, I get the intent of affirmative action, but it hasn't helped anything. And it should have been like a temporary fix and not a long,
Mm-hmm.
potentially lifelong or government long stamp of like, this has to be done.
Hey, man, I'm sorry.
Because then you get the problems today where, it just becomes like a minimum hire where it's like, well, we got to have so many blacks or so many Mexicans or women or whatever. And it's like, did you earn the spot? That's the problem. You're not really elevating your race or your people if you're just a minimum.
Equity is not equality. Like you can't create balance. You have to let balance happen.
Yeah, and being black, I was raised with my white mom and my white stepdad mostly, and my black family, even though they're liberal to some degree because of my grandmother's background, especially in civil rights. They're upper middle or upper class black people, so I didn't grow up in any regards as like the typical stereotypical black life. So that's very foreign to me, and so I don't understand that perspective.
Got you.
Especially being in the Army, that definitely gives me another angle too with race and stuff and gender. But I was, his I don't know. I just look at it in reality. It's like just think about the setting of the Civil War. Like, regardless if it was explicitly for slavery or if that was a part of it, states' rights. You had a huge population that just the other day was no different than cattle. They were sentient, and clearly, you can interbreed because they're all human, but they were livestock. And then one day, they're told, you're free, you can vote, you can whatever, you can contribute to society. And it's like, there has to be, when you have an influx of a population that was indentured or enslaved, and then you tell them, you're completely free, you can participate in government, that's a problem because they're not educated. They're literally not educated because there's no intent,
Right.
there's no reason to educate them to have that.
Well, they've also been indoctrinated, which is not their fault in any way, shape, or form, being former slaves themselves. So they have a certain mindset that needs time to not conform, but expand into those ideals.
Yeah, and it was funny. So going back to the John Wayne thing, I really interested in this whole interview, and I just watched Starship Troopers for the first time. So I was talking to the Rookie Critic about like, I see some merit to the society because you look at like Israel, they have in a lot of countries they have where you got to join the military service or civil service for at least a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
A country like Israel, if you got a huge population that has served in the military at least minimum, it's a lot more hands, all hands in type of perspective. Mm-hmm. Like here, it's all voluntary, and people take it for granted because there's no draft to be over your head and awareness. And I think that idea of like earning your vote is valid. I kind of applied that with the John Wayne thing, and I got some hate for my my analysis on the whole John Wayne thing. On top of it, like my angle was like reading in on him a little bit, where it's like, they call him racist and yeah, that's like a valid question because
yeah.
But, I put it in perspective. It's like this dude was born in like 1907, which Oklahoma became a state then. He's from Iowa, and you got to think of the era of politics for the Republican Party back then that he was heavily into. He had a valid reason McCarthyism became a thing, where you're trying to like sniff out any communists because we're dealing with Russia. So like you think of his acculturation and where he's from and the era and how they would view minorities and other political thought from the little place he's from. His viewpoint 8 years before his death kind of makes sense. It's not me condoning it, but it's like, whatever. Like, I'm from Oklahoma. I knew old white people that, hated black people, colored people, whatever they would say. And it's just something that you kind of, it's weird that we're in this culture now because it's like, there's this kind of consensus post 90s where it's like, yeah, those people they're slowly dying off, and we'll be better, but like leave them be because they grew up this way, and they're in culture that way. They can't.
Mhm.
They can't necessarily help it when you've gone so long with this mindset. And so it's like, just leave them be, and now it's like so radical where, you're indicted for, literal wrong thing you could say, but
Right.
it's going to fade away in time. And
Look, yeah. I'm
it's just
sorry.
where we're at now. So, I try to take a rational approach to it. You can disagree, but,
Mhm.
uh,
No, I understand your approach.
right now.
Well, you are looking at it in context of the period, and you have to when you're looking at statements. You can't read a quote from the 12th century and understand it, let alone translate it into how we live today. You can understand the feeling of the inflection. You might be able to understand some of the words, but you can't understand that era. You have to understand the era which gives it context. And it's not excusing any kind of behavior. It's just fact. That's all it is. It's the fact of the matter. Like you talking about real racist. I grew up with a real racist. My dad was a racist, and I remember being a kid and going and cringing and like, why are you using those words and those terms? And my stepmother would say the same thing. And he is now at the end of his life, and he went through a lot of bullying. I think this is where it stems from. When he was in middle school, was during the height of the civil rights movement. So there was a lot of racist tension going on in the country. This was probably around the time when the fountain thing was still fresh in everyone's mind, or still going on, and he got picked on really bad, and that set the tone for the rest of his life. And now here he is, the last quarter of his life, and he's making a concerted effort to change because he finally understood through science fiction, through Star Trek, through loving different science fiction that had black and people in them that he loved. And then that created some kind of contradiction within him, a moral contradiction, which caused a philosophical enlightenment. I'm very proud of my father right now, very proud of him. And oh shit, there's a point I was trying to make, but
Yeah, I guess to give you a little grace period to think, I doing the research. That's the point I forgot to address that I did in my video was getting context on John Wayne, not only his age and where he's from as a kid and stuff, but also there's some context with his racism, quote unquote, because I think it's easy to say Mexicans are lower on the totem pole with race, where it's like, yeah, whites are on top generally speaking because the history of like the industrialization of America and colonization. White people from Europe, so they're the majority. After all the Indians got wiped out from either wars or sickness from white people. And then you have slaves, so you get the black people, they're freed. And Mexicans, that's like a new thing with immigration in the last couple decades. And a lot of illegals are just people that haven't adapted with language and stuff, so they've kind of set themselves apart, and they have a negative connotation. But John Wayne, even with that totem pole, if you will, of hierarchy, he was married to two Latinas and had children, and a third wife was a Spaniard or Spanish descent. So it's like, how racist was he actually if he was procreating with lesser beings, given this era he's from and the viewpoint he would grow up with?
Right.
Yeah, so it's like, get the full context. Like, yeah, this is a troubling view per se, but this is from a guy that was like in his 70s, in 70 when he like gave this interview.
And what year was that? Do you know remember what year it was?
Yeah, it's 1971. It's a very famous Playboy interview.
71.
Yeah, and people were getting outraged in 2019 about a almost 50-year interview.
So we're talking about around the age of like when All in the Family starts, Jefferson's, things like that. Like this,
yeah, like Civil Rights Act just passed like 3 years before.
Okay. Yeah, race was all kinds of a topic, and I'm sure there were many white people that were afraid of black power you know, and the Black Panther movement and those kinds of things, because they, to a point, I accept their militance because there needed to be some kind of strong, forceful reaction from that community of some type. But when you look at it, there was a lot of talk about it going on. They made sitcoms about it, you know. So having that kind of a conversation at that time probably wasn't taboo at all.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like he's talking about like having Indian, like American Indians on his films and black people and whatnot. And another point he talked about, along with like mainly like black related stuff, affirmative action and voting and whatnot, and education. He also talked about, yeah, I'm not going to apologize for my ancestors who, we came over here and we needed land to live, and so we took it. It's like, well, am I going to apologize? And it's like, yeah, I really agree, and I talk about that too. Where it's like I'm from an Indian nation, and Oklahoma's full of Indian tribes. Of course, they're full of them because they were forced there from East Coast, but we settled that land, and then white people took it because they were more industrious, of course, with guns and equipment and all that. But they seem to think they like to generalize, I guess, Indians, that we were just all peaceful and all left off the land, we're all kumbaya.
No.
They totally ignored the Indian wars among tribes before white men, which is funny because it's like people fight. How many? It's like it's just evolution in humanity. It's like, how many tribes and peoples fell by the wayside to the Greeks and the Romans, or the Persians, or the Babylonians. We don't mourn them. We don't talk about Roman privilege. I joke with Rookie. It's like, the fuckers who said Roman privilege during the Roman Empire, they got a gladius to the face and never heard from them again.
Yep.
And same thing with other Indians, different tribes slaughtered each other. And that's why you get the successful tribes, because they took someone else's land and their buffalo or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree with that assessment. What nation are you a part of?
So where I'm from in Oklahoma is the Choctaw Nation, but I'm Cherokee. From what I understand, when people registered, if you could even if you were Choctaw, if you could get away as another tribe, you would register as that, because being Choctaw, given lots of Choctaws are really dark skinned, it wasn't much better than being black. So if you could call yourself Cherokee, you'd want to go that route.
Hot damn. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, yeah, it's just the reality of it.
Right.
And it makes sense because you see some like pretty. I don't think there's any like real full bloods anymore, but you clearly see like well-bred Choctaws. They're very dark skinned Indians. They fit like the red man look, skin wise.
Damn.
Oh no, he's quiet.
Angus hiding a tomahawk in his bedroom somewhere, Rookie. Don't go over there, man. He will skin your white ass alive.
That's Clayton Yucatan.
Need me some scalps. You know what? That should be maybe I'll make a gimmick, because Lone Wolf has always joked about red Angus, and maybe I'll make that like a gimmick, like the helpful Mexican, where it's like, I'm mad and I'm after some scalps. Get me some white people, and be like that EVS, you said blank and blank, and I'm coming after you, something stupid like that, get the SJWs to fall for it, and then be like, then I'll red pill them. Subvert their expectations.
Look, I ain't gonna lie. Ever since I made that video about Jeremy, I've been hoping Jeff would see it. I made that video for Jeff because Jeff will get it. Like, I know he likes Airplane. I know he's seen Spaceballs.
Which video?
It's a video where I called Jeremy out about his hatred of boobies when he was talking about that Arya Stark video. And then everybody downvoted him. And then like I swear to God, like a week or two later, like not that long later, he made another video where he was talking about the body language thing with Captain Marvel, how people were attacking the Bad Body Language channel because she was talking about the interview that Brie Larson had, the one with Chris Hemsworth and Don Cheadle. And they came at her. So he did another video where Jeremy was talking about, Well, the body language video is trying to say that Brie Larson didn't set her sarcasm up right. He didn't, and because it wasn't set up right, you can't tell. You just think she's an asshole, and that's what happened to me. I didn't set up the sarcasm, so nobody understood that I was being sarcastic, and I got a lot of hate for that video. And so, like, to me, I'm just like, Jeremy, you just identify with Brie Larson. Oh my God. So I had to make a video and just call him out on it. Like, it's completely untrue. The whole video is just a false narrative strung together from just like taking a drop of truth and sprinkling on a pile of bullshit lies. But it's just.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
Jeff even made a video. The Iron Wolf made a video calling him out, and
Did he? I gotta see it.
and Jeremy's like, "You didn't catch my sarcasm." And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't buy that. But it
No,
wasn't
neither
something
do
I
I.
was invested in. But yeah, I didn't buy that
Nah.
narrative.
Nope, me neither. Me neither. Me neither. And I'm just calling him out on it. It's just me calling him out, but doing it very sarcastically, using overt sarcasm, so you can tell it's sarcasm.
Yeah.
He used that blueprint from that channel. What were you saying, Ricky?
I said very clever, very clever.
Yeah, well, it's 4:30 here, so I'm gonna cut this short now. Although
Sounds good.
it's really short, but no, it's been a fun time chatting with all y'all.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no, I just saw you in the chat, and it's like, oh, I got Ricky on. We're moving from Godzilla, now we're talking just until I find a better name. I just kind of deem it Filmgate, but with like Ricky's like Gate, people instantly kind of shut off because they think whatever's like Comicsgate, alt-right, etc. So I'm trying to find a better name that's hashtagable.
The entertainment revolution.
It's not hashtagable, dude. Too
I
many
know.
syllables.
It doesn't roll off the tongue at all.
Yeah,
Rookie's going to be a director. He's going to have a big megaphone. He's going to look like oh my God, I have a joke. Dom DeLuise. He's going to be like Dom DeLuise. Just going to come out and just start screaming at people. He's going to be obscene. And he's going to make a lot of money. I can't wait for it. 10 years. That's what I'm saying.
Speaking of Dom DeLuise, you definitely need to try to hit up Cecil and get him on a stream, Steven.
Oh, yeah. Cecil is love.
Yeah, I'd love to get him on sometime. I actually got a reply from him one time on just regular notification. I'm like, hey, see some streaming, you want to come on? And he's like, it depends if I'm home from work or not. And so like, I actually got a bite one time, so just got to keep casting that line, I guess. He
commented on one of my videos early on. Actually, Cecil is Bagel Goose. Anyway, at that account, I think I did an appreciation of the High Council video, and he was like, "What? No Cecil? Hello." I think other people were saying, "What? No Cecil?" And then he just puts "hello?" ? It's hello.
I mentioned Cecil in the book in the chapter about the High Council, and I put a quote by Ethan that says, "Cecil is like the C-3PO of the High Council. He's he doesn't have a red arm, and he's not very funny, and that's about all the resemblance."
No, this is great. Be sure to go find Stephen Walton. It's under author Stephen Walton on YouTube, and of course, the Rookie Critic is linked below. I'll have to start adding Stephen to my long list of channels to sub that I always put in my videos. So yeah, check them out, and check out Lee Cole the Fourth if you haven't. He might still be streaming. You never know how long him and PB will go. But yeah, he was here for the first half talking about Godzilla and spoilers and whatnot. So once you see Godzilla, come back and check our assessment, see if you agree with some of the points, or if not, tell me why in the comments. But thanks for stopping by. Thanks, Rookie. Thanks, Steven.